Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku and Uraraka's grocery date turned freaky? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Midoriya let out an exhale, realizing that him, Uraraka and Bakugo were lost. It was Midoriya's turn to go get some groceries, and no one volunteered to go with him. Uraraka decided to help him, and she dragged Bakugo into it. She really didn't mind helping him, but Bakugo however wanted nothing to do with it. After grabbing some groceries, Bakugo thought he knew of a short cut back to UA. After walking for a long time, Midoriya realized that they were heading in the wrong direction. Bakugo, this isn't anywhere near UA, Uraraka said to him as she held Midoriya's hand. Kaken, are you sure that this is in the right direction? Midoriya asked him as he held the groceries. Yes. I've been through here. We must have went in a different direction at one point, Bakugo growled out. You were distracting me talking about hero training. Now we're lost because of you. Hey, don't blame Izuku for this, Uraraka agreed with him. He's not the one that decided to take a shortcut. I've done this before. He's the one that got me going in the opposite direction. Bakugo argued back. Bakugo and Uraraka stared daggers at each other, and Midoriya let out a sigh seeing them arguing. He thought they would stop arguing once him and Uraraka started dating, but clearly that wasn't the case. He even noticed that Uraraka got more defensive towards him whenever Bakugo picked on him. He stepped up to stop them and held Uraraka's hand to get her attention. Achiko. It's okay, Midoriya said back. We can find our way back towards UA. Let's ask someone for directions. Are you kidding me? Deku, why do you think Mr. Aizawa told us to have someone volunteer to go with you to go grocery shopping? It's to stay out of situations like this, Bakugo said to him with his arms crossed. Don't listen to him, Uraraka said to Midoriya. He's just annoyed that his shortcut didn't work out. You know how he gets when he doesn't get his way. Bakugo's veins looked like they were about to burst as he growled at her. They all headed back towards the regular road towards UA. Midoriya held Uraraka's hand as Bakugo walked with his hands in his pockets behind them. Uraraka let out a long sigh, and Midoriya felt her getting annoyed with Bakugo. He kept kicking a pebble behind them as they headed towards UA. Achiko, maybe you could lighten up just a little with Kaken. He's just trying to help get us to the dorms faster, Midoriya said to her. Uraraka gave him a look that made him flinch a little, but she slumped her shoulders. Fine. Only if he isn't yelling at you again, Uraraka said to him. I don't know how you put up with him all the time. You kind of get used to it, Midoriya said as he gave her a nervous smile. After walking back to the road for a while, they soon found it and headed towards UA. Midoriya noticed the bags getting a little heavy as they headed over there. Before anyone even realized it, he ended up bumping into a lady with horns that caused him to drop the bags. One of them ripped, and Uraraka immediately went to help him out. I'm sorry, miss. I didn't see you there, Midoriya said to her as he bowed to her repeatedly. It's okay. I can help you out if you want, she said back with shiny blue eyes. It's okay. I've got it, Uraraka said to her, grabbing the bags. Bakugo rolled his eyes and went to grab some of the groceries. Uraraka got annoyed when he started helping, and even noticed him just chucking them in there like they were trash. Bakugo! These are our groceries for the week. Uraraka yelled at him, stop chucking at them in there like that. I can toss them in there however I want. Bakugo yelled back. Besides, it's not like I wanted to come with you two lovebirds. You're the one who dragged me to go grocery shopping. Maybe I should have brought Ito with us instead. At least he's easy to get along with. Uraraka agreed with him as she grabbed more groceries. For eyes. Seriously, you'd rather get groceries with someone like him. He can't even cook a proper meal. Bakugo yelled back. I'm sorry for that, miss. They've been like that all day, Midoriya said to her. Midoriya then noticed that the lady was a little nervous standing so close to them. He even noticed that her eyes were glowing slightly. She didn't even really pay attention to Midoriya and got nervous about Bakugo and Uraraka arguing out here in public. Midoriya didn't like where this was going, and then noticed her horns creating a weird, blue electric current right between them. Midoriya then turned his head towards Bakugo and Uraraka, quickly realizing that she was targeting them. Before he could understand what was going on, the blue electric current hit Bakugo and Uraraka. Midoriya's eyes widened in shock and ran over to them before this lady could do anything else to them. They fell over, feeling the static shock coming over them. Midoriya stared at the lady, worried that she might do it again. "Stay away from them," Midoriya growled out. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "My quirk activates when people are arguing," the lady with horns said back with a nervous look on her face. Midoriya noticed how scared she was and felt bad since she didn't mean to hurt them. He was about to help her out, but then she ran off in tears. Midoriya reached out to her, but decided to help his friends out. He turned around to grab Uraraka's hand, but she quickly swiped it away. He was stunned to see her act that way towards him as she tried to shake off this electric current that was still going through her. "Get your hands off of me, Deku. I can get up by myself," Uraraka yelled at him. Midoriya's eyes widened in shock hearing Uraraka call him by his hero name. Not only that, but she was yelling at him when she never does that to him. Then he noticed Bakugo rubbing his head like he had a headache. He grabbed the grocery bags and tried to stand up after being hit by that electric current. "My head hurts from that weird electric whatever it was," Bakugo growled out. "Izuku, are you okay? You didn't get hit, did you?" Midoriya was even more dumbfounded to hear Bakugo say his first name. Not only that, but he was actually concerned about him. Midoriya was a little confused as to why they were acting weird as they grabbed the groceries, but then they stood up once they grabbed the bags. They looked at each other and were standing there stunned for a moment. Bakugo looked around frantically as if he lost something. Even Uraraka looked around as if something was wrong as both of their faces turned bright red. Midoriya was still really confused as they freaked out. Even Uraraka was looking at her chest and looked bright red. Even Bakugo looked really flustered as he realized what was going on. "Bakugo!" Uraraka cried out. "You are Uraraka?" Bakugo cried out. What's going on? This has to be some sort of prank or something, right?" Bakugo cried out. "I can't really be Bakugo, right?" Uraraka cried out. "Izuku, what's going on?" Midoriya's jaw dropped, realizing that Uraraka and Bakugo had switched bodies. He felt his face heat up when he remembered that he helped Uraraka up when it actually Bakugo. All Midoriya could do was point at them with a shaky hand, feeling really flustered and confused. "Uraraka? Kaken?" Midoriya cried out, pointing to them. "Yeah. I'm right here, Deku." Bakugo growled out with Uraraka's voice holding up his fist. "You did this somehow, didn't you? Leave Izuku out of this. This is clearly your fault." Uraraka yelled at him with Bakugo's voice. "You just had to take the shortcut. Clearly you got us into something weird." Midoriya then remembered that horned lady accidentally zapping them and realized that she switched their bodies. "Wait, that lady with horns?" Midoriya said to them. "She did this. Something about her quirk did this to you too. It seemed that arguing is what caused it to happen. That horned lady did this." Bakugo growled out with his fist up, ready to fight her. "I'll obliterate her until we get back to normal." Midoriya felt a bit of a chill hearing Uraraka saying that even though he knew it was Bakugo. Something about her talking like that gave him an uncomfortable feeling. "Well, we don't know where she went," Midoriya said to them. "We should get back to UA and get Mr. Aizawa to try to find her. Maybe her quirk can undo this." Bakugo and Uraraka shared a look, and they both turned bright red and flustered. "We can't go back there. Everyone's going to know about this. Ashido will never stop laughing and talking about this." Uraraka cried out. "Sparky will never let this go. He'll keep this over my head for the whole school year." Bakugo cried out. "We have to do something. I can't just leave you two like this." Midoriya cried out. "Mr. Aizawa will know what to do. Let's just head over there and see how it turns out." Bakugo and Uraraka shared a look and both let out an annoyed sigh. "Fine. Let's just head over there before any else happens," Bakugo said to them. They all walked back to the school, with Midoriya constantly looking at them. He still felt really confused and almost held hands with Uraraka at one point, but then realized that it was Bakugo. His face turned bright red when he realized that he couldn't hold hands with Uraraka. His mind couldn't help but think about holding hands with Bakugo and tried to shake it off. The walk back to the school felt so long that they felt like they could finally relax when they finally entered the UA gates. They headed towards the Class 1A dormitory, and Midoriya could tell that they were both really flustered and nervous. But then they all spotted Mr. Aizawa, and he looked really furious with them. "Where have you been? You were supposed to be back by 4 o'clock. It's almost 5, Mr. Aizawa asked them. Sorry, sir. We were just a bit sidetracked," Midoriya said as he rubbed the back of his head. "Maybe we should explain things inside." Mr. Aizawa stood still, not daring to move. He stared daggers at Midoriya, and he flinched on the spot. "I'd rather you explain things right now," Mr. Aizawa demanded, almost activating his quirk on them. Midoriya looked back at Bakugo and Uraraka, and they looked a little nervous of what Mr. Aizawa might do to them. "Sir, I really think we should tell you inside," Midoriya said back. "It's kind of important. If you hadn't taken this shortcut, none of this would have happened," Uraraka growled out in Bakugo's body. "What? You're blaming me for this?" Bakugo yelled at her, getting ready to fight her. "Yes, I am," Uraraka said back with a piercing glare that could rival Mr. Aizawa's. "Will you two stop arguing?" Midoriya asked them. "Save it that. You're the one that bumped into that lady and caused this to happen." Bakugo cried out in Uraraka's body. Mr. Aizawa noticed something off about this whole exchange, especially when Uraraka called Midoriya called Deku just like Bakugo. He could tell that something happened out there and had a bad feeling he knew what it was. "That's enough," Mr. Aizawa demanded. "I think I know what's going on. Let's head inside. You'll explain things in there." They all headed into the dormitory with Bakugo staring daggers at Uraraka. Midoriya couldn't get Bakugo to calm down, so they just headed inside. Unfortunately, everyone was in the common room, getting ready to make dinner. They all looked up to see them carrying the groceries. "Finally! We're starving here!" Kaminari cried out. Sato and Yaoyorozu were going to make ramen for dinner. Uraraka and Bakugo were putting the groceries on the counter, but they all noticed how harsh Uraraka put the bags down. They all stared at them and noticed Uraraka staring daggers at Bakugo. Mr. Aizawa led them towards the common room, and Midoriya tried to keep things on the down low. "What with your girlfriend?" Shiro asked Midoriya. "She looks pretty mad at Bakugo for some reason." Midoriya's cheeks warmed up, realizing that they were talking about Bakugo in Uraraka's body. He tried to shake off this weird feeling and tried to avoid the question. It's nothing really. I just really need to talk to Mr. Aizawa about something." Midoriya cried out. Midoriya ran over to the common room and sat down with Mr. Aizawa. Based on how Midoriya was reacting, everyone was curious and stood close to them to listen in on them. Midoriya ended up sitting across from Mr. Aizawa with Uraraka and Bakugo sitting beside him. Bakugo was still looking at Uraraka very angrily, and everyone wondered what Bakugo did to make her so mad. Midoriya looked at Mr. Aizawa, and he looked like he could barely get the words. It's kind of hard to explain, sir," Midoriya said to him as he scratched the back of his head. "We kind of ran into someone. Someone that had a SPE-specific quirk." "Oh my gosh, Deku, just get to the point already," Bakugo cried out, making everyone flinch at his reaction. Kaken and Ochiko. They might have accidentally switched bodies, Midoriya confessed, feeling his cheeks heat up. Class 1A all stared at Uraraka and Bakugo, not expecting that to come out of Midoriya's mouth. They looked at Uraraka and Bakugo and noticed Uraraka's expression looked a lot like Bakugo's face. They all burst out laughing, which made Uraraka even more angry. "Shut up. Stop laughing or I'll obliterate you," Bakugo cried out, which just made everyone laugh even more. "Stop it. Your yelling is making me laugh so hard." Kirishima laughed as he held his stomach. "Stop doing that, Bakugo. You're going to activate my quirk by accident." Uraraka cried out as she tried to pull him back down into his seat. "No way. Not until they stop laughing," Bakugo yelled out with his face looking rosy red. Uraraka tried to get Bakugo to relax, but he ended up accidentally using her quirk on himself. He floated up towards the ceiling, making everyone laugh even more. He felt his face brighten up, especially when he realized that he was now wearing a skirt. He pushed it down so no one would see underneath, but he could see Mineta trying to catch a peek at him. "You little pervert!" Uraraka yelled out, "Stop looking at my underwear." Mr. Aizawa threw his scarf at Bakugo and pulled him down towards the floor. He felt his face heat up even more as he pulled him down. "Bakugo, put your fingers together." "Like this," Uraraka said as he showed him how to use her quirk. "Yeah, I know," Bakugo said as he put his fingers together, causing him to land on the floor with a slight stumble. Bakugo felt a little bit nauseous, but tried to ignore it. Mr. Aizawa gave Midoriya a stern glare, knowing full well that they were stuck like this for a while. Midoriya flinched, knowing that he wasn't too happy about this situation. "So, what do we do now, Mr. Aizawa?" Midoriya was finally able to explain things to Mr. Aizawa and Class 1A. He was able to calm down Bakugo and Uraraka as he sat between them. Mr. Aizawa looked like he wanted to deal with anything but this. Class 1A were all still finding this pretty funny and amusing, making Uraraka and Bakugo blush a lot more than usual. "So there was this horned lady. I accidentally bumped into her," Midoriya explained to them. She apologized, but Uraraka and Bakugo started arguing. Something about them arguing triggered her quirk, and she accidentally used it on them. She didn't mean to, it just happened. Mr. Aizawa held his nose like he was getting migraine. Even Class 1A couldn't believe that this happened to them. "Well, I'm just glad that it didn't happen to you too, Midoriya," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "Maybe I can deactivate it with my quirk. If not, we'll go from there." Midoriya, Bakugo and Uraraka got ready for him to use his quirk that might get rid of it. He opened his eyes wide, causing his hair to stick up. They were glowing bright red, making everyone flinch at his gaze. Uraraka and Bakugo felt something come over them, like they could see what the other was seeing for a moment. They looked at each other and felt really weird and dizzy for a moment. Mr. Aizawa turned off his quirk, and they snapped out of it. It didn't work. Bakugo and Uraraka shook it off, feeling really out of it for a moment. "Well, that was weird," Uraraka said to them. "Yeah. Please don't do that again, Mr. Aizawa," Bakugo said to him. "That didn't work. That means I have to look and research this lady and try to find out how to deactivate her quirk," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "That means you two are going to have to get along until we can figure this out." Bakugo and Uraraka's eyes widened in shock, feeling their faces heat up again. They both stood up from their seats, and Midoriya could already tell where this was going. "We can't stay in each other's bodies for this long. I can't even stand him." Uraraka cried out. "How do you think I feel? I have to wear a demon's skirt." Bakugo cried out. A few of their classmates laughed in the background, making Bakugo glare at them, which just made them laugh even more. "Deal with it. I need to research about this lady right now so you two can stop arguing. Think of this as hero training and dealing with unpredictable quirks," Mr. Aizawa demanded, looking tired of dealing with them. "Beep, me and Izuku have a date soon. I can't date him like this." Uraraka cried out, realizing what she just said. Midoriya totally forgot, but felt weird hearing Bakugo's voice say that out loud. "Check it out, Bakugo has a date with Midoriya," Mineta said to Kaminari as they both laughed at them. "You know what she meant." Bakugo cried out and raised his hand like he was about to use his explosive quirk. "There's no way I'm getting involved with any dating or love life," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "Figure it out yourself, but keep your distance from each other. I don't want to hear any complaints or concerns." Midoriya felt himself heat up and looked at Uraraka, forgetting that he was looking at Bakugo. He didn't know how he was going to deal with this. He might accidentally kiss Uraraka when it's actually Bakugo. Just that image made him blush bright red and everyone noticed. He tried to shake it off, but it wasn't going away anytime soon. "This just got interesting a bit," Azui said as she put her finger to her chin. "I'll say, Uraraka and Bakugo switching bodies is not something that I was expecting," Ojiro said to them. "It's probably the best thing that's ever happened in UA," Kaminari said, smiling at Bakugo's blushing face. "Come on, Bakugo. You know you like it. You get to wear a skirt and you have melons." "I'm so jealous right now," Mineta said with a wide smile. Bakugo covered his chest, but felt weird feeling Uraraka's chest by accident. His face was so red and hot that he was practically smoking. Get away from me, you perverts! Bakugo cried out in Uraraka's voice. Leave him alone. You two are disgusting. Yaoyorozu cried out along with the other girls covering for him. Yeah. Us girls are more mature than that. Hagakure cried out. Uraraka felt embarrassed still to be in this situation and looked at Midoriya. She really wanted to hold his hand, but hesitated with everyone around them. She already missed holding hand and didn't know how she was going to make it through today without being near him. Midoriya noticed and scratched the back of his head, feeling a little embarrassed. This is a little awkward. Huh, Achiko? Midoriya asked her. Yeah. I really wanted to go on a date with you tomorrow, Uraraka said in Bakugo's voice. I don't know how we could go on a date like this. Midoriya's face turned bright red and knew exactly how she was feeling. He really wanted to hold her hand, but he kept looking at her and not Bakugo. He kept getting confused between who was Uraraka and who was Bakugo. I know. I kind of was looking forward to going out with you, Midoriya said back with a smile. Uraraka felt herself lean closer to him and held hands with him. Midoriya flinched and turned red when he realized that he was holding Bakugo's hand. He couldn't help but look anywhere else but Bakugo. He even felt Bakugo lean into him a little, making him even redder. Akachiko, you do realize that you're holding my hand, right? Midoriya asked her looking really red. As Kaken? Uraraka opened her eyes and looked over at Bakugo who noticed the whole thing. Uraraka's eyes stared back at her, looking absolutely mortified. Her face was rosy red and stomped over to them. Uraraka and Midoriya stepped away from each other just as Bakugo got up to them. You too. Bakugo growled out in Uraraka's voice. Don't even think about holding hands. Don't even kiss. Nothing will happen between you two, understand? Uraraka smiled slyly and got close to Midoriya, making him all flustered again. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock, and his jaw dropped seeing himself so close to Midoriya. Uraraka smiled at Midoriya, just making things even more awkward and uncomfortable for Bakugo. Sorry, Bakugo. Does this bother you? Uraraka asked him in teasing manner. You don't like seeing us together? Bakugo was completely lost for words as Uraraka cuddled to Midoriya. He couldn't even use his quirk to scare her off or anything. Keep your hands off of Deku, Bakugo growled out in Uraraka's voice. I know what you're trying to do. Uraraka snuggled against Midoriya, feeling pretty satisfied for doing this. Seeing Bakugo's face bright red and wide-eyed was priceless, but it was still weird seeing her face. Midoriya's face was just as red as his as she wrapped her arm around him and cuddled up. What? I just want to go on dates with Izuku. Holding hands, sharing dessert, maybe even. Don't you dare say it, Bakugo growled at her. Uraraka looked at him with a sly smile, looking really satisfied with what she has done. Kiss a little, Uraraka said to him in Bakugo's voice. That's it. I don't care if you're in my body. Bakugo yelled at her. Bakugo launched at her and ended up tackling her to the ground. He accidentally used Uraraka's quirk on her and himself, and they went floating in the air. Everyone tried to break them up, but no one could get them down. Even Midoriya tried to get them both down, but they ended up floating away from him. Uraraka tried to even use Bakugo's quirk, but she didn't exactly know how it worked. She went flying across the room because of it and slammed into Bakugo. Come on, you guys. Stop fighting. Ida cried out. This is not how Mr. Aizawa wanted you two to deal with it. Yeah, well, maybe you should tell her that. Bakugo yelled at her. You're the one that got us into this mess. If it weren't for your stupid shortcut, we wouldn't have ran into that lady. Uraraka yelled at him. My fault. You're the one that dragged me into coming to the grocery store. Bakugo yelled back. It's none of your faults. Midoriya cried out. Please, Bakugo. Let go of her so we can get you both down. Me. She's the one that started it with her annoying flirting. Bakugo yelled out. Seriously? You two are just going to make things worse for us. No. We won't, Kaken. Midoriya cried out. We'll stop dating for a while. Just until this goes away. Please stop fighting. Bakugo stopped for a moment to look at Uraraka. She too looked a little concerned and ended up agreeing with Midoriya. She didn't want to, but she knew that this was the only way that they were going to get through this. "I need to hear it from you too, Uraraka," Bakugo said to her. Uraraka was having a hard time saying it because she still wanted to date him. She couldn't stand the idea of them being apart from each other for more than a day. She didn't know what she'd do, but she nodded her head anyway. "Yes. I'll stop dating Izuku until we're back to normal," Uraraka said to him. Bakugo let go of her and they floated there. Zero ended up wrapping his tape around the both of them and pulled them down towards the floor. Bakugo turned off Uraraka's quirk, causing them to land softly this time around. Bakugo started to feel a little nauseous and wasn't used to a quirk like this before. "My stomach feels so." Bakugo groaned as he felt something coming up. Bakugo looked a little green as he covered his mouth and ran towards the restroom. Everyone looked concerned, but then remembered that it was Bakugo who was throwing up. All of the girls ran over to him to help him out, and they noticed that he ran into the boys' restroom. Midoriya and Bakugo shared a look and knew that he wasn't going to like this one bit. "I just realized that not only did we switch bodies, but we also switched quirks. We're going to have to get used to having someone else's quirks," Uraraka said to Midoriya. "Yeah. That's gotta feel weird for both of you," Midoriya said back. "I mean, he's never had any sort of nausea problem, so it must feel weird for him. What about you? I saw you try to use his quirk." "Yeah," Uraraka said to him as she looked at Bakugo's hands. "I tried to use it, but it's so different from mine. I just can't wrap my head around how it works. I guess I'll just have to figure it out myself." "You could always ask him to train with you," Midoriya suggested. "If you get along better, I'm sure you two could actually learn something about each other's quirks." "Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, Izuku," Uraraka said. "He clearly wants nothing to do with this. Like he's ever going to help with that. You don't know that. If anything, he might be just as interested as you," Midoriya said back. "Maybe it'll make things less awkward and uncomfortable." Uraraka thought about it for a moment and realized that Midoriya was probably right. She really didn't want to admit it, but Bakugo was the only one was going to help her with his quirk. She was the only one that was going to be able to help him with hers since the nausea can be a bit much at times. She let out an exhale, feeling her shoulders slump down. "You're right," Uraraka said to him. "I'll talk to him about it tomorrow." Midoriya smiled at her and almost held her hand. He stood up straight and tried to keep his hands off of her. She noticed and scratched the back of her head. "This is going to be a long week," Uraraka said to him with a nervous smile. "Yeah." Bakugo ended up walking out of the restroom with the rest of the girls, looking pretty embarrassed and red in the face. Everyone else stayed clear of Bakugo, knowing full well that he was feeling a little nauseous. He went over to the fridge and grabbed a water bottle. "Ugh, well, that was pleasant," Bakugo groaned. He took a sip of his water bottle. "I can't believe that I just threw up sparkly rainbows. Your quirk is weird." Uraraka already felt slightly annoyed, and then looked at Midoriya. He smiled at her and she tried to shake it off. "So, what are going to do about rooms?" Ashido asked them. "Mr. Aizawa is definitely not going to let you sleep in the other one's room. It looks like you're going to have to sleep in assigned rooms," Ida said to them. Then Bakugo stopped drinking his water and turned red thinking about what that meant. Even Uraraka couldn't believe what they had to do. He ended up spitting out his water and dropped his jaw with a bright red face. Everyone was confused as to what he was freaking out about, but a couple of caught onto what he was thinking about. I have tea too." Bakugo trailed off. He couldn't even say it. "You have to get dressed as Uraraka," Mineta said with a wide grin. "You're a lucky guy, Bakugo." Shut up, pervert." Bakugo yelled at him. "I can't do this. I have to sleep in Uraraka's room." "Hey, you think I want this too?" Uraraka yelled at him with a blemished face. "Like I want to get dressed as you." "Don't worry, Bakugo," Yaoyorozu said to him. "We'll help you." Bakugo's eyes widened in complete shock and couldn't even form words. All of the girls stood by his side, ready to help him out. That just made him even more red. Help with what exactly?" Bakugo asked, a little nervous to hear the answer. "Girl stuff," Ashido said back. Uraraka couldn't help but smile. knowing that Bakugo wasn't exactly excited about any of this. All of the girls were so willing to help him, but he seemed so embarrassed to even be around them at the moment. "Don't worry about it, Bakugo," Hagakure said to him, "it's nothing to be embarrassed about." Bakugo couldn't even say anything as the girls tried to drag him towards Uraraka's room. He tried to get away from them, but they kept pushing and dragging him towards her room. "Gee, get off of me. I want nothing to do with this." Bakugo cried out. "Come on, Bakugo," Yaoyorozu said to him, "we know that you're not like Kaminari or Mineta, so it's fine. We'll help you until you go back to normal." "I'll be back to normal before I even get used to it. Get off of me." Bakugo yelled at them. "No way. You're in Uraraka's body, so this is important." Hagakure yelled at him. They all headed into the elevator, and Bakugo was dragged into it. The last thing everyone else saw was Uraraka's red face looking really embarrassed. Everyone laughed, remembering that Bakugo was being dragged away by them all. "Oh man, this is going to be the best week ever." Kaminari cried out as he wiped a tear from his eye. "No kidding. Uraraka, however, seems okay with this whole thing," Shiro said to her, noticing her being less embarrassed. Uraraka stood there next to Midoriya, feeling a little embarrassed. She wasn't nearly as freaked out as Bakugo, but she was somewhat relieved that it wasn't that bad. "It's not that bad," Uraraka said to them with a slight blemish. "Besides, Bakugo's the one that's clearly way more bothered by it than I am." "Oh come on," Kirishima said to her. "You were freaking out about not being able to date Midoriya? That's gotta be a little bit weird." Uraraka looked at Midoriya and felt something come over her. She felt like she wanted to hold his hand, but remembered her promise to Bakugo. She looked away from Midoriya, feeling a little flustered. "Yeah, maybe a little," Uraraka said to them under her breath. Midoriya felt his cheeks heat up and noticed that Uraraka really wanted to be with him. He also promised Bakugo that he wouldn't date her either. Then he remembered seeing Uraraka and thinking about holding her hand. Then he remembered that it was Bakugo, not his girlfriend. He scratched his head, feeling a little confused. "Are you okay, Midoriya?" Ida asked him. "Why, just a little confused," Midoriya said back. "I know what you mean. This is going to be a little hard to remember who's who," Kaminari said to them. "Are you kidding? Once you see Uraraka yelling, you'll know it's Bakugo." "It's not that confusing," Sato said to them. "I know, right? It doesn't matter who he's stuck with. You can always tell when it's him," Ojiro said to them with a slight laugh. They all laughed together, but Uraraka started to feel a little bad for him. She understood how he was feeling and maybe thought that asking him to train with him wouldn't be so bad. She just hoped that she could get a good night's sleep tonight. In Uraraka's room, Bakugo felt his face turn bright red as Ashido and the girls dragged him into Uraraka's room. He kept trying to get away from them, but each one of them kept grabbing him and pulling him back in. "Come on, Bakugo," Ashido said to him. "There's nothing wrong with this. You need to dress anyway for dinner. You're still in your school uniform." Bakugo stopped and looked down at his uniform. He noticed how different it felt to wear a skirt. It felt so short, like he had to pull it down constantly, but something about it felt refreshing with the breeze. "I don't understand how you all can wear these short skirts. Don't you get uncomfortable wearing these all the time?" Bakugo asked them. "Not really. You just gotta keep your legs closed so you don't show your underwear," Yaoyorozu explained to him. Bakugo's face turned red and could barely look at them or the skirt he was wearing. Ashido opened Uraraka's room, and they walked inside. Bakugo was surprised to see her room was not as girly and pink as he thought it would be. If anything, it just looked like any other regular dorm room. "I expected something more girly," Bakugo mumbled more to himself. "Yeah. Uraraka's parents are kind of poor," Jairu explained to him. "She doesn't have a whole lot for her room. Not even much to decorate it. We always try to help her out with some money, but she doesn't like us giving her money," Yaoyorozu said to him. "The most we could get for her was a couple of posters and new shirts." Bakugo looked around to notice that her room really didn't have much to it. Her fan didn't even seem like a new one, it looked refurbished. He kind of felt bad for her that she didn't have much of a room. He was surprised that she could even afford to go to this school. He couldn't imagine what her parents were trying to do to keep her in this top hero school. He never realized that she was poor. Okay Bakugo, Ashido said as she smiled at him as she opened Uraraka's dresser. It's time to get dressed. We'll pick out your outfit. Just when Bakugo was starting to relax, he felt his face turn bright red again. Ashido and the other girls looked through her dresser and picked a really cute outfit. Bakugo could barely look at it, especially when he spotted underwear and a bra. He tried to run out of the room, but noticed that Hagakure was guarding the door. This is so fun. Uraraka never lets us dress her. Yaoyorozu exclaimed. See, can't I just wear this the whole time? There's no way in hell I'm wearing that. Bakugo asked them. You know full well that Uraraka is doing the same thing. You should appreciate Uraraka more for dealing with this, Ashido said to him with an angry face. She does a lot for all of us. I don't care if you guys haven't been getting along. She's a good friend and great girlfriend to Midoriya. Bakugo shocked to hear Ashido get so defensive about Uraraka. He didn't know if it was because he was Uraraka at the moment, but she seemed to not be afraid of him, not even a little. She tossed his clothes to him and pushed towards the restroom nearby. Now go change, Ashido demanded. We're having dinner soon. If you need help with the bra, then we'll help you. Bakugo's face turned red once she closed the door behind him. He didn't even get the chance to yell at her. Looking down at Uraraka's clothes, he noticed how colorful they were. He never realized that their clothes were pretty bright compared to his. He put them down and looked through his outfit. He opened up the folded-up shirt and looked like a regular yellow shirt that he's seen her wear. Then opened up the folded-up orange striped shorts and noticed how tight and short they were. He felt his face turn red, but tried to shake it off. After avoiding them for so long, he looked up with a shaky head. He spotted Uraraka's underwear and bra laying next to the outfit that they picked for him. He could barely touch it without turning red. He took a deep breath in and out and quickly got dressed. He ended up having trouble with the bra and tried not to look at mirror. He wanted to respect her, but he accidentally caught a glimpse from the side but quickly looked away. He got dressed but still felt the bra unattached from the back. He growled at it and tried so hard to keep it from doing it again. This stupid thing. How do girls wear this thing? Bakugo growled to himself. Do you need help in there? Yaoyorozu asked him. No, I've got it. Bakugo yelled out, feeling his cheeks turn red. Please don't come in. It's okay if you do. We've all done it before, Ashido said back. Bakugo thought he had it for a moment, but then it unattached again. He didn't want to try to take it off, but it was just so annoying. Ugh, why can't I just take it off? This thing is so annoying. Bakugo cried out without meaning to. Do you really Mineta and Kaminari to be around you without your bra on? Besides, everyone will see through your shirt if you don't, Gyro asked him. Bakugo tried to shake off that thought and couldn't believe that he was actually doing this with all of the guys around to see this. He was just glad that the girls were helping him out. He never actually thought he'd be appreciating them for helping him with stuff like this. For a moment, he looked in the mirror to see Uraraka looking really frustrated and red in the face. He had never seen her look like this up close. It was kind of weird to be looking at her like this, especially with her shirt loosened up. He got up and opened the door, feeling the bra loosening. I need help. Bakugo groaned. They all smiled, happy to finally help him. See? Was that so hard? Ashido asked him. Here, turn around. Bakugo tried not to feel embarrassed as she lifted his shirt to attach the bra properly. He let her help him and didn't know how he was going to do this without them. This was his first day like this, and he didn't know how long this was going to last. He couldn't see doing this without them around. Ashido put his shirt down, feeling less embarrassed now. You should be good now, Ashido said back with a smile. If you need anything else, don't be afraid to ask. We all know you're not like Kaminari or Mineta. We all know you would never do anything perverted or stupid. We could even help with hero training since you have Uraraka's quirk now. Bakugo was surprised that they all wanted to help him so quickly. He thought that they were trying to prank him or something. But they all clearly just wanted to help him. He felt like it was because of Uraraka and not so much him. Are you helping me because of Uraraka? You're only doing this because you're friends with her, Bakugo said to them. Yeah, sure, but we also understand how weird this must be feeling, Gyro said to him. Do you really want all of guys to help you with this? I don't think so, Hagakure said as she waved her invisible arms. Bakugo had never noticed how much they appreciated Uraraka. Not only that, but they also really wanted to help Bakugo since they understood how uncomfortable this all must be. He didn't know how he'd even do any of this without them. Thank you, Bakugo said under his breath with blemished cheeks. Ashido and the other girls were surprised to hear him say that back from Bakugo. They had never heard him say anything like that before. It may have been Uraraka's voice, but it was still shocking to them. No problem, Ashido cried out as she put her arm around Bakugo. We're classmates, aren't we? Bakugo let her lean up against him, for some reason feeling a little more relaxed. He felt they were a little more comfortable to be around than the guys. He didn't really understand why, but they were less in your face and more relaxed around each other. Ashido smiled and let go of him. Come on. Yaozu has to go check on dinner, Ashido said to him. I'm starving. Right on cue, Bakugo felt his stomach growling, making him blush a little. I am pretty hungry after throwing up actually, Bakugo groaned, holding his stomach. Ashido pulled him gently towards the elevator, ready to have dinner with Bakugo. They all headed down towards the common room, feeling pretty hungry. I can't wait for everyone to see how cute you look, Hagakure cried out. Bakugo turned red as they entered the elevator. He already felt like running off, remembering everyone was probably waiting for Bakugo to come out in some weird or cute outfit. He really didn't want to go down there, but his stomach growled again. Bakugo gripped his shirt, feeling really hungry all of a sudden. Bakugo knew that this was going to be a long week. Earlier in Bakugo's room, some of the guys went up to Bakugo's room to help Uraraka out. She wasn't freaking out like Bakugo was when the girls tried to drag him into the elevator. She was still a little nervous, but she knew that having them around would help her a lot. It was quiet as they headed over to his room. Even Midoriya decided to let them take care of it themselves. He just felt really weird being around them and needed a break from them. Uraraka walked over to Bakugo's room, feeling a little weird to be walking so nonchalantly towards the guys' side of the dorm rooms. She never really does that unless she's going to Midoriya's room to do homework with him. So, this is awkward, Kaminari said to them. Usually Bakugo is yelling at us at this point. Sorry about him, Uraraka, Kirishima said back. He's still getting used to this. We all are. I understand, Uraraka said back in Bakugo's voice as she looked down at the floor. All of the guys looked at each other, still weirded out by Bakugo not yelling at them. They knew that it was Uraraka, but seeing him so quiet was still throwing them off. Uraraka, I know that things are a little weird right now, but I'm hoping that we can still help you out, Siro said to her. I wouldn't want you feeling uncomfortable around us. Of course not. This is weird for all of us, Kaminari said to her. I just hope that we can all be friends during all of this. Uraraka looked up to see them smiling and felt herself relax a little. Something about seeing them wanting to help her out reminded her of the girls. They were always so helpful and supportive that she never realized that they too were like that as well. She didn't really spend with them that much, just Midoriya and Ida. Thank you for helping me. I appreciate it a lot, Uraraka said with a smile. They all were so thrown off by Bakugo's face smiling back them. Yeah. This is still going to be weird though, Siro said to her. Bakugo isn't exactly cheerful like you, Uraraka. Really? Uraraka said in a sarcastic tone. I never noticed that he was always like, shut up you bee. I'll obliterate you. They all laughed at how accurate she was and almost fell over laughing. Oh my gosh. That was too good, Kaminari said as he held his stomach. You should really do that more often to throw Midoriya or Bakugo off. Yeah. The look on Bakugo's face would be priceless. Uraraka cried out as she laughed with them. They soon all made their way to his room and finally relaxed after laughing for a while. They opened the door, and Uraraka wasn't surprised for some reason to find his room pretty plain looking. It had pretty much the same feeling to her room, but a little more stuff. He had a few weights to exercise with on the side and just more things around his desk and dresser. He seemed to have more exercise equipment than she would think. Then again, it was Bakugo. It's pretty plain looking, Uraraka said to them, kind of like my room. Really? I never thought of your room as plain, Kirishima said to her. You just have a different style than him. Yeah. It's called being poor, Uraraka said with a slight chuckle. Uraraka looked at his things on his desk and noticed that he had a couple of All Might figures. She smiled, realizing that he was an All Might fan just like Deku. Then she spotted a photo on his dresser that caught her attention. She grabbed it to see that he had a middle school photo of his classroom. She noticed that he was looking a little angry like always, but Midoriya looked a little nervous. Sometimes she forgot that they were childhood friends just based on the way Bakugo treats him. She felt them looking over her shoulder and smiled at his photo. Weird, right? Bakugo and Midoriya being childhood friends and all? Kaminari asked her. Yeah. I don't understand why Midoriya is okay with being friends with him, Uraraka said to them. He's just okay with his constant yelling and insults. If I were him, I would have been done with him a long time ago. Yeah, well, Bakugo can be a bit hot-headed and mean, but he's also headstrong and confident, Kirishima said to her. He's a pretty great fighter too. Having him by your side can feel pretty amazing and surprisingly good. Uraraka looked at the photo again, feeling like she kind of understands where Kirishima is coming from. All she could think about was Bakugo and her fight during the sports festival. She never really had that moment with him like Kirishima did. Maybe she didn't quite understand him since she's barely hung out with him. Yeah. I've never gotten that feeling from him, Uraraka said to them. You know, the sports festival and all? They all cringed, remembering her and Bakugo's fight. She was knocked out from dealing with him. They kind of forgot that they went through that. I'm sorry, Uraraka, Kirishima said back. I didn't realize that you felt that way. Yeah. We actually kind of forgot about that whole thing at the sports festival, Kaminari said to her. It's fine. Let's just get this over with, Uraraka said, sounding a lot more like Bakugo. Kirishima hesitated, but went over to Bakugo's dresser. He and the others picked out an outfit for her. She wasn't as weirded out as she thought she'd be, but she was embarrassed to have to get dressed. She was just glad that Midoriya wasn't here with her to see her get dressed. Once they got her an outfit, they gave it to her, and she headed into the restroom. If you need anything, we're right here, Siro said to her. Uraraka was already starting to feel a little hot and embarrassed. She put down her outfit and wasn't bothered by the outfit. It was more of getting dressed that felt weird. She looked at the outfit and it was just a pair of black shorts that went down to her knees. She was so used to short and tight shorts, so it looked kind of refreshing to be wearing these. She pulled out a dark gray tank top that somewhat revealed her chest. Her cheeks felt really warm just looking at the tank top she about to wear. No bra or anything like that. She had a feeling that the guys weren't thinking about the fact that Uraraka was wearing this and not Bakugo. Then she noticed his underwear and felt a little weird and uncomfortable. She tried not to think about it too much and just decided to get dressed. As she took off her shirt, she never realized how buff and strong Bakugo's arms were. She tried not to look at the mirror since it felt weird already. For a moment though, she did see a glimpse of his chest. She didn't think about it as she finished getting dressed. She felt little hot and felt herself wave her hands right in front of her face. She quickly turned on the sink and splashed some cold water on her face. She hung her head over the sink as the water dripped from her face. She looked up to see Bakugo in the mirror. He looked really red in the face, which threw Uraraka off. She had never seen this sort of expression on him before. She felt really weird looking at him like this. Bakugo had a really clean face, which was shocking to him considering he sweated a lot. No acne or anything like that. She was kind of jealous of him just looking at his face. Uraraka eyed a brush and hair gel and wondered if she should fix his hair a bit. It looked a bit messy. She brushed her hair, wondering how she would even brush hair like his. She tried to get it to look like his, and it wasn't that hard. She knew that if she messed with the hair gel, she would never hear the end of it. Are you okay, Uraraka? Kirishima asked her. Yeah. Hold on, Uraraka said back as she opened the door. I don't know how to use hair gel. Should I use it? I don't Bakugo cause another scene about his hair looking messy or something. Yeah. We can help you with that, Kirishima said as he pulled out his desk chair. He's done this for me before. We do this all the time. Uraraka was surprised to hear this. Bakugo didn't seem like someone that would let anyone touch his hair. She sat down on his desk chair and let Kirishima do his hair. She found it amusing to see Kirishima enjoying himself while doing his hair. It didn't take as long as she thought it would, and she ended up looking really good. I didn't think it would be so clean. I thought that it would be messy and feel greasy, Uraraka said as she looked at it. Yeah. If you know what you're doing, it can actually look and feel pretty good, Kirishima told her with a smile. They looked at her with smiles, and she felt so grateful to have some friends around to help her. She thought that it was a little weird that her girlfriends were being so helpful towards Bakugo, but she kind of understood why at this point. She felt a little more comfortable with them since she was dealing with some guy things that they wouldn't understand. Thank you for helping me, Uraraka said to them. I really appreciate you all doing this. Izuku is a little weirded out by this whole thing, and I just really hope that this is all over by tomorrow before our date. They were all weirded out by Bakugo talking about Midoriya like this, but could obviously tell that it was Uraraka. Something about it did make them feel kind of bad for her and wanted to help her in any way they could. Don't worry about it. I'm sure Midoriya will get over it once things go back to normal, Kaminari said to her. In the meantime, I'm starving, Shiro said to them. As if right on cue, Uraraka felt her stomach growl realizing that she hasn't eaten anything since they left to go grocery shopping. Yeah. I'm pretty hungry too, Uraraka said back. Maybe we should go downstairs. Bakugo's probably already down there. They all left Bakugo's room feeling pretty good about this. Once they all headed towards the elevator, Uraraka realized that Bakugo had to go through her room just like her. She felt her face warm up a little, hoping that he didn't do anything weird or stupid. Uraraka was definitely going to have to talk to the girls about this. In the dining room. Once Uraraka entered the common room with the guys, she noticed that Bakugo hadn't shown up yet. Uraraka couldn't help but cross her arms to hide her chest. It was just something that really bothered her with how loose her tank top was. She couldn't help but wonder what the girls might be doing up there with him. Even the guys seemed to wonder what they were doing up there. They all checked on dinner, and Sato was almost done making ramen. Everyone was just starting to settle down at the dining room tables. Uraraka spotted Midoriya sitting down, and they both locked eyes with each other. Uraraka felt herself blush once she noticed him and didn't know if she should sit next to him. Dinner's almost ready, Sato said to them. Uraraka stayed with Bakugo's friends for now while she waited for Bakugo and the girls to come downstairs. What's taking Bakugo so long? Kaminari asked them. The girls probably wanted to dress him up or something, Uraraka said back as she crossed her arms. They are always trying to dress me up, put makeup on me. Especially Ishido. They all smiled and laughed, realizing what Bakugo was going through up there. Come on, Uraraka. This is pretty funny, Shiro said to her. Bakugo's getting dressed up by the girls. We all know how Ishido can be a bit pushy. Uraraka never really realized that Bakugo was dealing with something so humorous. She felt herself laugh thinking about them trying to put him in her outfits. Why, that is pretty funny, Uraraka laughed, causing everyone to notice her. I can't wait to see the look on his face. Or I guess my face. That's still going to be hard to get used to, Kaminari said to her. Hopefully we won't have to, Uraraka said to them. She noticed that she started to feel pretty hot, and his outfit wasn't helping for some reason. Sweat was starting to drip on her arms, which she tried to wipe off inconspicuously. She didn't know why she was sweating when it was so cold outside. Although, it was pretty warm in the common room. She then wondered if that was why he wore such revealing and baggy clothes. Before she could even complain about it, the elevator door opened revealing Bakugo with the girls. He looked so red in the face that Uraraka could swear he was smoking. He came out wearing an outfit that looked tight and short on him as Uraraka. Ishido looked so happy with all of the girls as they exited the elevator. Bakugo walked out of the elevator and spotted Uraraka looking just as uncomfortable as he was. Although he looked way more red in the face than her. Uraraka. Hey, you look good. Ishido commented on her outfit. This is what Bakugo wears all the time, Uraraka said to her, even if I know that. Yeah, but you make it look good. Hagakure commented, only confusing Uraraka even. She's wearing my outfit in my body. There's absolutely nothing different about it. Bakugo yelled at them. Uraraka noticed that Bakugo kept moving his arms around in a way that looked like he was uncomfortable wearing a bra. She could tell that he was trying to make it look inconspicuous, but she noticed it right away. She couldn't help but smirk at him being a little uncomfortable. Once he sat down, Uraraka decided to sit with the girls. She didn't care if it seemed weird or not, she really felt like she needed to just relax with them. The guys sat with Bakugo, even though they felt like they were still talking to her. Uraraka still wanted to sit with Midoriya, but knew that Bakugo would just cause a scene again. She looked over at him, knowing full well that Midoriya was feeling the same way. She felt her hands heating up from the sweat, really wanting to hold Midoriya's hand. Her sweat kept bothering her, and she wondered if this was Bakugo's quirk that was doing this to her. "Dinner's ready," Sato announced as he and Yaoyorozu finished plating them all in bowls. They got up to grab a bowl and sat down at their tables. Uraraka was really hungry, but the heat was not helping her at all. In the corner of her eye, she noticed Bakugo as Uraraka taking a huge bite of ramen. She was shocked to see him eating it like that and had never noticed it before until now. Even the guys were shocked to watch Uraraka eat so fast and couldn't look away. He looked up to see them all looking at him. "What the hell are you looking at?" "I'm starving after that long walk," Bakugo said to them. "I even threw up after using Uraraka's quirk." "This is still weird, Bakugo," Kirishima said to him. "Give everyone some slack here. You are kind of looking. You know." Kaminari said, accidentally looking at Uraraka's tight clothes and chest. Bakugo didn't seem to notice his comment as he went back to eating another big bite of ramen. "Whatever. I'm starving here," Bakugo said as he talked with his mouth full of ramen. Uraraka was just glad that Bakugo wasn't causing a scene or making a mess with her quirk. So she went back to her dinner and finally ate her ramen. As she ate it, however, she started to feel really hot. She felt sweat dripping down her arm and tried to wipe it off. Uraraka started to worry about accidentally using his quirk and tried to get rid of his sweat inconspicuously. "Are you okay, Uraraka?" Ashido asked her. "You keep wiping your arms." "I'm just really hot, that's all," Uraraka told them. "I'm sure it's nothing." "Are you sure?" "Bakugo's quirk does come from his sweat," Yaoyorozu pointed out. "Shouldn't you talk to him about this? He might be able to help cool you down." Uraraka looked at Bakugo and wondered how he was doing now that they were starting to settle down. She could tell that he really wanted to just go to bed. After eating his entire bowl, he pushed it aside and everyone was shocked to him finish it so fast. She was guessing because he was in Uraraka's body that it looked really weird to everyone for her to be eating so much so fast. Even Kirishima was impressed as he watched him settle down. "I'm beat. I can't believe that I have to sleep in Uraraka's room," Bakugo said to them with a slight blush across his face. "Well, at least Mr. Aizawa is figuring out what to do. I'm sure he'll have some sort of answer tomorrow," Kirishima said to him. "Yeah. It can't be that hard for deactivate a body-switching quirk," Kaminari said back. "Why would you want that to reverse?" Mineta cried out sitting at the table next to them. "You're so lucky, Bakugo. Don't you see that?" Bakugo's eyebrows twitched, feeling his face heat up a little, but tried not to be bothered by it too much. Even Uraraka felt her fists clenched as she heard Mineta from across the room. The girls noticed how annoyed Uraraka was getting, and Jiraiya got up to jab her earphone jack into his ear. Mineta flinched and went back to his meal before Jiraiya could do anything. "Mineta, you pervert! I'm just so glad no one dragged you into this," Jiraiya cried out. "Yeah. Leave Uraraka and Bakugo alone. They're exhausted from grocery shopping and the whole body-switching thing. Let them eat," Yaoyorozu said to him. Uraraka could feel her arms sweating a little more and tried to wipe off more sweat. She felt it start to drip down her forehead and grabbed her water to drink. She ended up gulping down some, and Bakugo noticed. He kept watching Uraraka and noticed that she was getting really hot and sweaty. Bakugo sat there, wondering if he should say something. She kept putting her hand to her forehead like she was really hot. He was worried a little bit that she might set off the fire alarm or let off an explosion without meaning to. Bakugo got up, and everyone looked at him. He tried to ignore them and went straight to Uraraka. He grabbed her by the tank top and pulled her out of her seat. He pulled her out of the dining room and into the kitchen. "Bakugo, what are you doing?" Uraraka asked him as she felt sweat dripping down her forehead. I am so hot. I don't feel like arguing with you tonight. I don't want either, Bakugo said back. You're sweating a lot, so you need to calm down. If you don't, you might accidentally set off an explosion. Uraraka tried to relax by taking a deep breath in and out. Bakugo grabbed a cup from the cabinet and put ice in it. He put water in it and gave it to her. You need to hydrate, Bakugo said to her, otherwise you might pass out. Uraraka took a big gulp of ice-cold water, already feeling much better. She noticed that Bakugo was starting to turn red and wondered if he was getting hot from her heating up. I would suggest taking a shower. But you know. Bakugo trailed off, feeling a little embarrassed about their situation. Uraraka felt her face heating up without meaning to and took another gulp of water. She was a little nervous to answer him back, but just nodded instead. Also, throw your clothes in the wash. You've been wiping your arms on them, so they might catch fire near anything flammable, Bakugo explained to her. Uraraka couldn't believe how much he had to do in order to keep his quirk under control. She kind of never realized how much he had to do because of his quirk having to do with his sweat. She only had to worry about getting nauseous and floating away, but he had to really keep things clean and away from his sweat. She kind of felt bad for him that dealt with that all the time. Once she finished her water, she ended up filling it up some more. The cold water really helped a lot, and she drank it all so fast. She wondered if she should give him any sort of advice for her quirk. Her quirk could get a little weird at times, and he didn't have to help her. You should wear gloves when you're sleeping, Uraraka said to him. I have some right by my bed. I wear them so I don't accidentally float around in my sleep. Sometimes I'll accidentally activate my quirk on things around me. Bakugo was surprised to see her giving him advice. He looked down at his hands and noticed her fingers had these weird finger pads on the tips of them. He never really thought about her quirk doing that, especially when she's sleeping. Also, there are these pressure points that help with nausea, Uraraka explained as she showed him by grabbing his wrist, right here. It helps relieve it a bit. I even have some peppermints if you need any in my backpack. Bakugo felt the pressure point and was surprised how good that felt. He could feel his stomach feel a little better, especially after throwing up a while ago. He didn't expect her to help him out so much, especially after getting in a fight with him. He looked at her and still felt weird to see his own face, especially coming from Uraraka. He even noticed their height difference and felt a little off while talking to her. He felt a little awkward around her once it got quiet. Look, Bakugo, I'm sorry for that fight earlier, Uraraka said to him. I just got a little frustrated because of what happened. It really had nothing to do with you. Once we sort things out tomorrow, I'm hoping we can at least stop fighting less. Bakugo was surprised to see her apologizing. He didn't think she would even mention anything about it. He shuffled his feet in her slippers, feeling a little awkward standing there with her. Even when he touched his hair, he wasn't used to feeling such soft and longer hair. He went to scratch his head and looked up at her. I'm sorry too, I guess. I guess I kinda got carried away a little bit, Bakugo said in Uraraka's voice. I'm just a little weirded out by this whole thing, and I know you are too. Why? It is a little weird, Uraraka said back. I mean, I was supposed to go on a date with Izuku tomorrow night. Don't worry, I won't do anything like that until we get back to normal. Bakugo felt his face turn red, feeling weird seeing himself say all that. In the corner of his eye, he noticed Midoriya looking at them and instinctively looking away. He really hoped that Midoriya wasn't going to do anything stupid as well. He was still worried since they'd been dating for a while now ever since the winter dance. Let's just hope that Mr. Aizawa has something that will help tomorrow, Bakugo said to her. I don't know if I could handle your quirk during hero training. Uraraka couldn't help but smile, which made Bakugo lift his eyebrow. Are you saying that my quirk is strong? Uraraka asked him in a teasing manner. Stop looking at me like that. It's weird with my face. Bakugo cried out. Come on, Bakugo. You can admit it or I can do it for you, Uraraka said to him. Uraraka, you have such a strong quirk. It's much stronger than mine. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock and tried to cover his mouth keep from blurting it out. They find your quirk is strong. They're happy? Bakugo said to her as he tried to shake off this embarrassment. Uraraka smiled at him, making him cringe even more. Yeah. I am. She went back to the dining room and almost everyone was looking at them. Midoriya was curious as to what was going on between them. Uraraka stopped in her tracks and looked back at him. Oh, your quirk is pretty strong too, Uraraka said as she unclenched her fist. Bakugo felt something come over him and smiled confidently back at her. He just hoped that things would go back to normal by tomorrow. As things settled down, Uraraka felt exhausted and yawned so much that she felt tears forming underneath her eyes. I'm going to bed, Uraraka said to everyone. I can barely keep my eyes open. Bakugo noticed her leaving and remembered that they had to sleep in each other's rooms. He wondered if he should say anything else to her before she left. Before she stepped into the elevator, he pulled her into it and pressed a button. Hey, what are you doing, Bakugo? Uraraka asked him as she noticed that he pressed the button to his room. Don't forget, we're sharing rooms, Bakugo said to her with a slight blemish. I don't like either, but Mr. Aizawa would never stop lecturing us if we don't. Besides, Uraraka noticed him blushing and got a little worried for a moment. Why you've gotta take a shower? The guys may be able to help you with some things, but they don't have my quirk, Bakugo said to her. I'm the only one that can help you with that. Uraraka felt her cheeks heat up so much that she fanned herself. Bakugo, you can't be serious. I can't do that. It would be disrespectful. Uraraka cried out. I'm sorry, but I have a routine, believe it or not. Bakugo cried back. I have specific shampoos, conditioners and lotions, or else my skin dries up and itches a lot. Also, you should take a cold shower, it helps cut back on sweating. All I need to do is show you which ones to use and then, why, you can do the rest. Uraraka got a little nervous as they exited the elevator. Bakugo walked ahead of her and noticed that he too looked a little nervous. She couldn't look anywhere but the floor as they soon entered his room. He showed her the shampoos, conditioners and lotions that he used. After explaining what to use and how much, he gave them to her. The rest is up to you. Just. Bakugo trailed off, looking at himself with a blushing expression. Don't do anything stupid in there. Do you need me to do anything? I promise that I'll be respectful. Uraraka felt herself heat up, but was surprised that he even asked her. She thought about it for a moment and realized that she didn't quite have a strict routine like he does. She just used any cheap shampoo and conditioner that made her hair feel good. I just have some regular shampoo and conditioner, but I do usually brush my hair in the shower. It helps get the knots out, Uraraka said to him, feeling her cheeks heat up. They both stood there feeling a little embarrassed. Once things quieted down between them, Bakugo left and Uraraka decided to wait for him to leave before going over there. She could tell that he didn't want to say anything because he was nervous and embarrassed about this whole thing. She quickly grabbed some pajamas and tried to quickly look for boxers. After a long walk to the shower, she noticed that she was about to enter the boys' restroom. She gulped and entered without a second thought. Luckily, she was the only one in there. She put down her things and turned on the shower. Her face felt a little red already as she waited for it to get really warm, but then she remembered Bakugo quickly mentioned that he takes cold showers. She got a little nervous because she really wanted a nice hot shower. She turned it back to cold and felt herself stiffened up from the cold sensation. After being very respectful and closing her eyes, she took off her clothes and got into the shower with the shampoos, conditioner and lotions. She almost let out a cry out from how cold the water was. She just wanted to take a nice relaxing shower, not something that kept her up all night. She quickly dunked her head into the water to try to get used to the water. After quickly following his routine, she scrubbed her hair feeling how soft his hair was. She didn't expect it to feel so good, but she quickly finished. Then she quickly put lotion all over her arms and legs, trying not to blush or freak out. It felt so weird to her to be feeling his arms and legs, especially since she had a boyfriend. His arms were so buff and strong that she forgot what she was doing for a moment. She tried to shake it off and grabbed a towel. After turning off the shower, she thought she heard someone come into the restroom. She quickly peeked through the shower curtain and saw Midoriya brushing his teeth. She felt her face heat up, realizing that she was in the boys' restroom. She completely forgot about it for a moment and wanted to wait until he was done. Uraraka felt like her heart was racing, and she kept looking to see if he was done. He was still there, taking his time getting ready for bed. "Come on, Izuku," Uraraka said under her breath. "Just leave already." She eyed Bakugo's pajamas and wondered if he knew that she was in here. She really hoped that he didn't notice. Then she saw him looking down at it. His eyes locked onto them as if he had realized whose pajamas they were. She noticed him looking in her direction, and she quickly hid in the shower. "This can't be happening to me right now," Uraraka said quietly. Midoriya never came over to the shower. Instead she heard the restroom door close, shocking her a little bit. She looked back into the restroom and noticed that he had left. He must have known that she was here and wanted to be respectful. She felt her heart flutter and smiled at how sweet he was being tonight. She really owed him for being supportive. She quickly got dressed in the shower just in case anyone noticed and headed out of the restroom. Once she exited the restroom, however, she bumped into a couple of the guys. She blushed profusely, realizing that how awkward this was for her. Even Mineta was there, and she quickly pushed her way through his before they said anything. "That was Uraraka, right?" Todoroki asked them. "Why, to us. This must be a little awkward for her," Ida said back as he adjusted his glasses. "Yeah," Mineta said with a knowing look. "Very awkward. I wonder how Bakugo's doing." "Mineta, don't you dare do anything to upset them. They've got enough to deal with tonight," Ida cried out. Mineta smiled, looking at Uraraka running off towards Bakugo's room. He kept wondering what was going on Bakugo at the moment, however. Earlier in the hallway, Bakugo walked back to Uraraka's room, taking his time with this shower. He tried to shake off this awkward feeling, but it was kind of unavoidable at this point. He couldn't help but feel little glad to be getting out of this bra. He couldn't understand how girls wear these all day every day. It was so uncomfortable, and he was still trying to adjust it as he walked down the hallway. "This is so weird," Bakugo groaned to himself. Soon enough, he found himself in front of Uraraka's room. He noticed Ishido walking over to her room and felt really weird entering a girl's room. He did have permission, but it was still weird. "Oh, hey, you are. I mean, Bakugo," Ishido said to him. "Do you need help with anything?" He felt his face warm up a little and hesitated to answer her. He was pretty much all good for tonight, but he did wonder about something. Uraraka's quirk. "She has to wear these gloves while she's sleeping," Bakugo pointed out. "Yeah. She can be a bit of a deep sleeper," Ishido said back to him. "One time, she slept over in my room and accidentally forgot to put her gloves on. There were flying pencils, pillows and stuff everywhere. It took me so long to wake her up. She was flying around through the air. I had to go get Azui to get her down." Bakugo got a little nervous and let out an annoyed sigh. He couldn't believe that she dealt with this all the time. No wonder she wore gloves all the time at night. "Well, luckily I'm not a deep sleeper," Bakugo said back. "I'm just hoping that this all blows over by tomorrow." "Yeah. Mr. Aizawa wouldn't want any of this to be going on for so long either. I'm sure he's found something," Ishido said to him. Bakugo looked back at Uraraka's room and was really hesitant to even go take a shower. Ishido seemed to notice and gave him a head tilt curiously. "Do you need something?" Ishido asked him. "No, I just need to take a demon shower." Bakugo cried out without thinking. Why did I say that out loud? Ishido couldn't help but laugh at how funny this all was. He felt himself blushing and almost entered Uraraka's room. "Wait, Bakugo, I'm sorry for laughing. I actually remember something that might feel good that a lot of girls like." "It might feel really good," Ishido said to him. "We absolutely love hot showers. It feels absolutely amazing." Bakugo hesitated since he couldn't because of his sweat. Then he remembered he didn't have to worry about that tonight. He could actually take a break from all that and relax for a night. He actually considered it as he let go of her door. "I guess could. Try it out," Bakugo said under his breath with Uraraka's voice. "Go ahead. I'm sure Uraraka already told you what to use," Ishido said back. "If you need anything, I'll be across the hallway. Enjoy your shower." Ishido gave him a wink, and Bakugo felt a little nervous. He opened the door and quickly grabbed pajamas without thinking about it. Luckily, he didn't have to a bra. He almost freaked out touching underwear, but quickly hid them under the clothes. He then went into the restroom and grabbed her shampoo and conditioner. He had never used anything other than his specific brand of shampoo and conditioner, so it felt really weird to him to be doing this. He soon exited Uraraka's room and headed towards the restroom. Luckily, it wasn't that far away and there wasn't anyone else around the hallways. He looked at the restroom sign and felt weird entering the restroom. He felt himself stiffen up once he entered to see Yaoyorozu brushing her teeth with her hair down. He felt his face brighten up so much that he almost decided to skip the shower. It's okay Bakugo, Yaoyorozu said a little nervously and awkwardly. I can leave. Besides, I'm done. I wouldn't want you feeling uncomfortable here. Bakugo was surprised that she was willing to leave the restroom for him to have a shower. She soon cleaned up her things and left the restroom. Enjoy. Bakugo shook off that awkward exchange and put down his things. He opened the shower to turn it on and almost forgot that he could actually have a hot shower this time around. He felt how hot it was and it felt like a little weird but went with it. Then he felt himself get flustered as he took his time to get his clothes off. He tried not to look, but still couldn't help but look considering his chest was bigger. It felt really weird and awkward and just jumped into the shower. Soon enough, he actually felt how good it was in there. The hot water gently streaming down his arms and legs felt so soothing that he had never felt anything like it before. He could never really take a hot shower because it dried up his skin and it didn't help cool himself down. Something about it just made him even a little sleepy and so relaxed. Oh wow. This feels good. Bakugo groaned without realizing it. Then he soon just scrubbed some shampoo into his hair and felt how soft and silky Uraraka's hair was. He didn't expect to touch hair like this, so it threw him off for a moment. He even used the comb that Uraraka suggested and it felt actually really good in a hot shower. He then put conditioner in his hair, which just made it even more satisfying. The combing felt so good that he actually considered getting one for his hair. Bakugo felt so relaxed and a little sleepy that he could fall asleep in the shower. He shook it off and soon heard the door open. His eyes widened, hoping that it was just Ishido. He tried to ignore it, but something told him to peek through the curtain. He turned off the shower and grabbed the towel. He wrapped it around his chest, still feeling awkward about it. He looked into the restroom and noticed someone taking his clothes. His face turned red when he saw Mineta with a wide smile. He felt his mouth widen in complete shock, even when he went to touch Uraraka's underwear. Without thinking, he jumped out of the shower. Mineta! You little pervert! Bakugo cried out with Uraraka's voice. Oh hey Bakugo, Mineta said back as he held his clothes. You look good after taking a relaxing shower. Must feel nice. Mineta pulled out his phone and was about to take a picture when Bakugo ran at him. His face was bright red as he tried to grab Mineta's phone. He dropped it, and Bakugo ended up accidentally touching it and caused it to float. Hey, that's my phone! Mineta cried out. Serves you right, you little pervert. If I had my quirk, I'd obliterate you to dust, Bakugo growled out, holding out his fist. Then a couple of the girls came running into the restroom. They turned red once they saw Bakugo in a towel as Uraraka and Mineta with his phone in the air. Mineta! Get out of here! Now! Ishido cried out with a purple blemish across her face. But my phone! Mineta cried out as he tried to reach it. Bakugo looked at it and turned off her quirk. He caught it before Mineta could and taunted him with it. You want this, you little pervert? Bakugo teased. He was about to blow it up, but then realized that he didn't have his explosive quirk. Then he decided to slam it down, causing the phone to crack and break into a couple of pieces. My phone! Mineta cried out as he went to grab it. Bakugo, you will pay for this. Luckily you're still Uraraka. I will get you. Bakugo tried not to feel uncomfortable about that exchange as Mineta got kicked out of the restroom. All of the girls felt like they could finally relax. Sorry Bakugo. I didn't even see him sneak by me, Yaoyorozu said to him with a slight blemish. Yeah. We definitely need to look out for him, Ishido said to them. He's not going to let up on this whole body switching situation, unfortunately. Bakugo tried not to let it bother him as he saw his clothes on the floor. He went to grab it, and the girls noticed how relaxed he looked. Ishido smiled, knowing full well that Bakugo took her advice. So, how was your shower, Bakugo? You look pretty good for someone that just got a run-in with Mineta, Ishido said to him with a smile. Bakugo didn't even try to fight this time and let out a long sigh. He was tired of arguing for tonight, so he let it slide for now. Yeah. It felt good, Bakugo said with Uraraka's voice. I don't usually take showers like this because of my quirk. It felt good. Ashido smiled, surprised to hear this from Bakugo. Even all of the girls were pretty happy seeing him enjoy it. Well, I'm glad that you had a good time, Yaoyorozu said to him. I hope you get some rest. Yeah. Me too, Bakugo said, remembering her quirk. He let out a big yawn, feeling so out of it for a moment. He could tell that the shower was starting to make him feel relaxed. He didn't even have the energy to yell or anything like that. Bakugo ended up leaving without saying a word to them, but they understood. He grabbed Uraraka's things and headed to her room. He was so tired that he almost went back to his room instead. He soon made his way over to Uraraka's room and opened the door. He turned on her lamp to see her pretty plain-looking room. Putting her things away where they were before, he slumped his shoulders and found himself in her bed. He laid there for a moment just to get comfortable in her bed. All he could smell was her shampoo, and this time he found it comforting after having a relaxing shower. Once he got up, he noticed her gloves beside her bed. He grabbed them and put them on. He laid down on his back and looked at them. They were not the most comfortable gloves for sleeping, but they fine for the time being. For a moment, he took off her glove and looked at her hand. He looked at it for a moment to look at her finger pads. Something about it reminded him of her pink cheeks. He touched his face without thinking and noticed that her skin was pretty soft. Bakugo was so tired that he didn't even feel embarrassed or flustered. He just kind of relaxed in her bed, feeling pretty comfortable in it. He laid back down and put her glove back on. All Bakugo could think about was Uraraka, wondering if she could actually get some sleep in his room. He soon felt sleepy and ended up falling asleep feeling really cozy and warm in Uraraka's bed. In Bakugo's room, Uraraka felt like she could finally relax once she got in Bakugo's room. Turning on his lamp, Uraraka looked around and felt a little weird sleeping in here. She put his things back into their rightful places and sat down on his bed. After she settled down, she felt herself yawn and tears came up. She finally noticed that she wasn't hot or sweating right now. She looked at the air conditioner in his room and wondered if she should set it to be a little chilly in here. She liked having blankets on her at night, so she decided to turn it on. She finally felt like she could go to bed. It felt weird to lay in a guy's bed, especially when she had a boyfriend. She could smell his shampoo that it made her a little more relaxed, but still felt weird. For a moment, she looked behind her to grab her gloves. Then she remembered that she didn't have to worry about floating things in her sleep tonight. She actually felt herself relax even more, realizing that this might be a pretty relaxing night tonight. She laid on her back with Bakugo's blanket over her. For a moment, she just kind of laid there looking at the ceiling. She looked at her hand and noticed how his forearms looked much stronger up close. She couldn't imagine what his quirk must feel like. When they fought earlier, she barely got to use it. If anything, she really didn't do anything with it. She turned around and laid there feeling a little tired already. After a day like today, she really hoped that things would turn around tomorrow morning. As she fell asleep, she wondered how Bakugo was doing in her room. In Class 1A's dormitory, Uraraka stirred in her sleep, feeling a little bit more relaxed than she thought she'd be. When she opened her eyes, she didn't expect to be in Bakugo's room. She was fully expecting to be back in her room, but then she remembered what happened once she saw her hand. She let out a long sigh and laid there for a moment. She couldn't believe that this actually happened to her. She was hoping that it was just a dream, but no. She was in Bakugo's body, and he was in hers. Soon enough, she got up and took her time getting dressed. She tried to be polite and got dressed without looking. She felt a little warm in the face, but it went away once she decided to brush her hair and put some hair gel on it. She remembered a couple things that Kirishima told her about doing with hair gel and surprisingly got it to look pretty decent. She looked in the mirror and was surprised to see it look pretty good. Uraraka tried to put on her tie, but it was slightly different from hers. She struggled to put it on, but was able to get around somewhat decent. She gave up on it and grabbed her school bag. It felt weird to be using Bakugo's school bag and wondered if they could at least still work on their own homework. At this point, Uraraka just hoped that they would be back to normal once they get to school. She walked out of Bakugo's room, feeling pretty refreshed. Once she exited his room, Kirishima ended up coming out at the same time as her. He smiled, happy to see her, and she hoped that he remembered who she was. "Hey Uraraka. How was your sleep in Bakugo's room?" Kirishima asked her. "Actually, it was pretty comfy," Uraraka said back. "I fell asleep pretty quickly. Must be from all that arguing and ramen." "Yeah. I'll bet," Kirishima said to her. "Let's hope that things will be back to normal soon." Uraraka nodded a little nervously and headed downstairs with Kirishima. She adjusted her school bag in her hands, feeling a little bit uncomfortable with this tie. She tried to adjust it by stretching out her collar, but that just seemed to make it worse. "Are you having trouble with your tie, Uraraka?" Kirishima asked her with a slight laugh. "Maybe. I'm just used to tying a tie that's meant for girls," Uraraka said with Bakugo's voice. "I think I tightened it a bit too much." They exited the elevator once they got to the common room, and Kirishima pulled her aside. "Let me help you with that," Kirishima said as he took out the knot and undid the whole thing. Uraraka felt a little embarrassed that he was doing this, especially when everyone was already up and having breakfast. A few others weren't here yet, but she noticed Midoriya was already up. He looked at her, and she felt her cheeks warming up a little. Kirishima tied her tie so fluidly that she was impressed how fast he got it done. "Good as new," Kirishima said to her with a smile. "You should have breakfast. It looks like Bakugo isn't here yet." Uraraka looked around to see everyone but him and a few others. Even Ishido wasn't here yet, and she had a feeling she knew why. She noticed that Mineta looked upset about something, but didn't question it. She let out a sigh and walked over to the fridge to grab some orange juice. She got a cup of it and also a bowl of cereal. She walked up to the dining room and really wanted to sit with Midoriya. Bakugo told her to not date him until they were back to normal. That didn't mean that they couldn't hang out together. Uraraka smiled and pulled up a chair for her to sit on. She sat next to him, causing Midoriya to blush slightly. "Casey. I mean, Achiko. What are you doing here? Shouldn't you sit with someone else?" Midoriya asked her, a little thrown off by her approaching him. "No. Just because Bakugo doesn't want us dating, doesn't mean we can't hang out together," Uraraka said with Bakugo's voice. Midoriya clearly was still trying to get used to this and went back to eating his cereal. Uraraka kept glancing to the side as they both ate together. She could tell that Midoriya was a little nervous around her as Bakugo. She couldn't quite blame him considering the way Bakugo treats him sometimes. She hoped that this didn't change anything between them. "Izuki." Before she could say anything, the elevator opened to reveal Ishido dragging Bakugo as Uraraka out of it. Bakugo came out looking really red in the face with slightly extra makeup on today. Ishido couldn't stop smiling once they got downstairs. Everyone laughed at Bakugo, remembering that Uraraka and him switched bodies. Even Mineta got a good laugh. "Wow, Bakugo! That's quite the look on you," Kaminari cried out. "I know that we're looking at Uraraka, but it's even better that it's you." "Shut it, Sparky!" Bakugo cried out as he raised his fist at him. "Ishido made me. She a lot stronger than she looks." Uraraka couldn't help but smile at how funny this kind of was. Bakugo would never actually wear any of this, so seeing him with Ishido just made her day feel much better. She would never let Ishido do her makeup because she overdoes it. But seeing Bakugo actually let her do it made her almost burst out laughing. "It seems like Bakugo is starting to be okay with this," Midoriya said to her. "Well, as good as you'd expect at least." "Yeah. He really seems to at least not mind being around the girls," Uraraka said back. "Weird. I never thought he'd ever be friends with them. Something must have happened between them." Midoriya and Uraraka watched him trying to get back at Kaminari, but stopped when he spotted Uraraka as Bakugo sitting with Midoriya. He didn't look away as they locked eyes on each other. Bakugo thought that it was weird seeing himself sitting with Midoriya so close to each other like that. He almost stomped over there when Ishido dragged him over to the kitchen. "Bakugo, you should eat. We have to go to school soon," Ishido said to him. "Fine. Just let me pick what to eat at least," Bakugo said back. He ended up grabbing a granola bar and some orange juice and looked a little annoyed doing it. He kept looking at Uraraka and Midoriya sitting together. He noticed that they weren't holding hands, which made him relax a little. He really didn't want them to do anything weird, but she seemed to be respectful and just ate her breakfast. Bakugo sat down with Kirishima, but almost ended up sitting with Ishido. "You two seem to get a pretty decent night's sleep," Kirishima said to him. "I'm surprised considering the situation." "Yeah. I'm kind of surprised too," Bakugo said back as he opened his granola bar. "Ishido has been kind of a pain in the butt this morning though." "Hey, that's just Ishido, man," Kirishima said to him. "You'll get used to it soon enough." "Hopefully this will blown over soon though," Bakugo said back. "Mr. Aizawa hopefully found out what to do when we get to class." Bakugo finished his granola bar pretty quickly and gulped his orange juice in one gulp. Everyone still thought it was weird seeing Uraraka eating so fast. Once everyone was ready for school, Uraraka walked to school with Midoriya and Ida while Bakugo walked with Kirishima. Uraraka wanted to say something to him, decided to stay away from for now. She figured that hero training might not happen with their new quirks considering what Mr. Aizawa might have found out. They walked to school pretty quietly and soon found themselves in their classroom. Uraraka and Bakugo spotted Mr. Aizawa calling them all inside. Once they got into the classroom, they noticed All Might was with them as well. They were a little confused as to why he was here, but Uraraka and Bakugo wondered if this had anything to do with their situation. Bakugo and Uraraka decided to sit in their assigned seats, then it will be easier for Mr. Aizawa to remember who's who. Once they settled down, Mr. Aizawa looked at the two that got hit by this weird quirk. "Uraraka, Bakugo, please come here," Mr. Aizawa said to them. Uraraka and Bakugo hesitated, but walked up to him feeling a little nervous. Uraraka felt her heart racing a little as Mr. Aizawa stared at them. He turned on his quirk without them realizing it, and they both flinched a little. They still got that same feeling from the last time he did it. They felt like they were looking through the other person's eyes for a moment. Once he turned off his quirk, nothing happened. They shook off that weird feeling. "Will you stop doing that? It gives me a headache," Bakugo yelled with Uraraka's voice. "I guess that didn't work," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "I thought maybe after some time the quirk would have worn off." Uraraka and Bakugo got worried for a moment and wondered if he didn't find anything. "So, you didn't find anything?" Uraraka asked him with Bakugo's voice. "No, I did. I just wanted to be sure that I couldn't use my quirk to solve this," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "So I researched this horned lady with a body-switching quirk. And?" Uraraka said back, a little nervous. "I found her. Her name is Mei Kitsune. Her quirk is body switch. She can allow any two people to switch bodies, but only when they are upset or angry," Mr. Aizawa explained to them. Uraraka and Bakugo shared a look and let out a sigh. "So, is there a way to reverse it?" Bakugo asked him. "There's gotta be a way to reverse this, right?" "Yes. There is," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "Her quirk only works if she herself can do it, or if you two can come to understand one another better. We can't seem to find her, so for right now you two need to figure this out on your own until we find her." Uraraka and Bakugo shared a look that made them feel a little embarrassed to be doing this right now in their classroom. "Are you serious? So, we have to stay like this until you two find her?" Bakugo pointed out. "Unless you two understand each other better, then there's nothing I can do," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "All Might here is looking for her along with some other teachers. We'll be in touch, but for now I want you two to go back to your hero work and training as if this were just like any other day at school." "But Mr. Aizawa, our quirks were switched as well. We can't hero train like this," Uraraka cried out. "I almost let off an explosion yesterday in the dining room because of his quirk." "Then hero train together," All Might suggested. "Now's a good time to do it if this quirk has to do with understanding one another. You might as well." Uraraka and Bakugo felt a little annoyed, but ended up agreeing with All Might. They looked at each other feeling a little annoyed with having to stay like this for a bit longer. "Now, go back to your assigned seats," Mr. Aizawa demanded, starting class. Uraraka and Bakugo sat down with Uraraka in her usual seat, and Bakugo by the window. Mr. Aizawa let the seating thing slide for now and went on to finally teaching them something about different kinds of quirks. Uraraka couldn't even pay attention as kept looking at Bakugo. It felt weird seeing him sitting his usual seat as herself. She tried to focus on class, but kept wondering, how hero training was going to go later on. She let out a long sigh and went back to class. This is going to be a long week. In the hallways, after classes were finally over, Bakugo felt like he could finally stretch. Something about sitting down for so long was bothering him more than usual. He really wanted to get to the cafeteria right away as his stomach growled. He grabbed his backpack, still feeling weird to be using Uraraka's things. He felt a little nauseous for some reason even though he didn't use her quirk yet. He reached into her backpack and grabbed a peppermint from a tin box. He didn't usually eat this, but it definitely helped a bit. "Hey Bakugo, are you going to eat lunch with us?" Ashido asked him, walking up to him. Bakugo thought it was still a little weird that she still wanted to hang out with him, but let it slide for now since he was so hungry. "Fine. As long as you're not putting more makeup on me," Bakugo groaned as he stood up from his usual seat. Ashido joined him along with most of the girls. He was just glad that it didn't look weird for him joining them since he looked like Uraraka at the moment. If he were himself, he would have definitely turned her down. He can't have people talking about him hanging out with a bunch of girls all the time. They walked out of the classroom when he spotted Uraraka walking with Midoriya and Ida. It looked weird seeing him walking around with those two. Without thinking, he pulled Uraraka away from them and dragged her towards Kirishima. "What do you think you are doing? I can't be seen hanging out with Deku and Four Eyes," Bakugo yelled. "You've got to at least stay with Kirishima. It looks less weird and out of place. We can't have everyone thinking that we got hit by this weird quirk." "What about you? You're hanging out with Ashido and the other girls," Uraraka said back with Bakugo's voice. "If I have to hang out with Kirishima, then you have to hang out with Ida and Izuku." Bakugo growled at her, but looked at the two of them. They were waiting for Uraraka, and Bakugo couldn't believe that he was going to do this. He shook off this weird feeling of hanging out with these two and focused on Uraraka. "Fine. I'll have lunch with them. As long as you stay with Kirishima, things won't look so weird," Bakugo said back to her. Uraraka let out an annoyed sigh and walked to the cafeteria with Kirishima. Bakugo walked over to Ida and Midoriya, and they looked a little awkward at him. "Let's just get this over with," Bakugo said with Uraraka's voice. Ida and Midoriya were confused, but somewhat understood what was going on. After walking to the cafeteria for a while, Bakugo felt a little weird between Ida and Midoriya. Usually he just walked by himself and then Kirishima would join in whenever he could. It made him feel a little cramped and didn't understood how Uraraka walked in between them like this. Bakugo looked back at Uraraka, and she seemed to be doing fine with Kirishima and Ashido. If anything, she blended in better than he thought she would. Maybe a little too well. She looked like she was enjoying it even more than he would have. How are you feeling, Bakugo?" Ida asked, feeling a little awkward. "Have you been catching up on any schoolwork?" Bakugo was not expecting him to try to actually make conversation with him. It felt weird to actually be talking to him. He never really talked to Ida unless he was insulting him or hero training with him. He really didn't want to have to blend in, but then again he just called him Bakugo instead of Uraraka. "It's fine. I'm caught up," Bakugo said in Uraraka's voice. Ida and Midoriya shared an awkward look at each other and kept going with this. Bakugo noticed Midoriya looking at him for a long time, which made him a little uncomfortable. Once he looked at him, he looked away with a flustered face. It was pretty quiet as they walked to the cafeteria. Bakugo could tell that Ida and Midoriya felt just as uncomfortable as him. "So, I hope you and Uraraka can finally get back to normal soon," Ida said to him. "I mean, it's only a matter of time until they find this lady. They already know who she is. I'm sure they'll find her soon. Yeah. It's just annoying since I don't have my quirk with me. I can't even hero train like I usually do," Bakugo groaned. Like All Might said, this is a good time to train with different quirks. "Who knows, this might actually help once things go back to normal," Ida said back. Bakugo looked at her hands, feeling a little unsure about it. He was kind of curious about her quirk, but he didn't want to accidentally hurt her. He did things differently than her when it comes to fighting. Then again, he did notice that her fighting style improved lately. "Maybe," Bakugo said under his breath. Bakugo noticed how quiet Midoriya was and wondered why he wasn't saying anything. He knew that it felt weird, but still. Before he could say anything, they all entered the cafeteria. Bakugo smelled all of that amazing food and instantly felt his mouth watering. Something about it seemed to hit him differently than usual. They got in line, and he got really eager to grab something to eat. He was really craving mapo tofu right about now, so he got that. Once he grabbed it, it looked so good that he could eat it right there. Something though was making him crave something sweet. He didn't usually crave sweets, but he grabbed a pudding cup with whipped cream and a water bottle. They all grabbed their lunch and headed towards a table. They all ended up sitting with Todoroki and Yaoyorozu, which made it feel a little less awkward. He still didn't like Todoroki, but he tried to ignore him. They sat down, but Bakugo didn't realize that Midoriya sat next to him. He rolled his eyes and looked at his food. Bakugo was so hungry that they noticed what he got for lunch. "Bakugo, you're eating mapo tofu? Isn't that spicy?" Todoroki asked him. "Yeah. What of it?" Bakugo asked with Uraraka's voice. "Well, Uraraka isn't exactly one that can tolerate spicy foods," Ida said back. "She usually just gets fried rice and a salad." "Hey, I'm starving. If I want mapo tofu, I'm going to have it," Bakugo cried out. Bakugo took a spoonful of the mapo tofu and felt his mouth burn from the taste. Something about it bothered him more than usual, but he could handle it. He quickly grabbed his water bottle and gulped it down pretty quickly. He felt his face heat up slightly from the spiciness, but went for more. "I told you. Spicy foods don't sit well with her," Ida said to him as he ate his dumplings. "Shut it, Four Eyes. I'm starving," Bakugo cried out, causing a few people to look at him. Bakugo noticed some of them looking at him as Uraraka and felt his face heat up a little. He sat down and went back to his meal. He ate as much of his mapo tofu as he could, but at some point it started to bother his stomach. He felt like he was about to throw up, so he pushed it aside. He eyed the pudding cup and something about it looked really appetizing. His mouth watered, especially after eating something so spicy. He grabbed it and took a spoonful of it. Once he placed it in his mouth, it instantly cooled down his mouth and it felt really refreshing. The chocolate for some reason was really satisfying even though he usually didn't eat these things. Something about it just felt so good and went for more. Before realizing it, he ended up eating all of it. Once it was all gone, he really wanted more. He looked up to see Midoriya looking at him again. He instinctively looked away, which just frustrated him even more. He grabbed his water bottle and drank some of it. For a moment, he felt something touch his hand and looked down to see Midoriya holding his hand. He spit out water, and his face instantly turned red. "Deku, what the hell are you doing?" Bakugo cried out. Midoriya looked down to notice that he was holding Uraraka's hand. As Bakugo, Midoriya's face turned bright red and pulled away instinctively. "I'm sorry, Kaken. I didn't realize what I was doing," Midoriya cried out with a red face. "You better not do that around me," Bakugo cried out, but then pulled him closer by his tie. "Don't forget. I'm not your DMN girlfriend. Got it?" Midoriya couldn't but blush being so close to Uraraka's face. Bakugo growling at him though definitely helped him remember who he was talking to however. He nodded profusely, and Bakugo let go of his tie. He grabbed his tray and walked off to dump it out. Once he was done with it, he decided to head out of there. He stood against the wall outside of the cafeteria and felt so warm around his face. Something kept telling him that it wasn't from the mapo tofu. Something about that moment when Midoriya held his hand made him so warm around his face. He never felt that way about Midoriya, ever. He looked at his hand to see Uraraka's and knew right away it was because of her. He was enjoying the hot shower, the pudding and holding Midoriya's hand because of her. Damn it, Uraraka. With Uraraka. Uraraka noticed Bakugo leaving the cafeteria early and kind of worried about him. For some reason, she noticed that he looked a little red in the face. She thought that maybe he was just embarrassed to be eating with Ida and Midoriya, but something about it made it seem like something else. She ate with Kirishima and Ishido no problem. They enjoyed her company, and she really liked having something different for lunch. She always noticed him having mapo tofu, so she decided to try it. Something about it wasn't as spicy as she thought it would be. If anything, it was kind of refreshing. After almost finishing all of it, they all headed towards the exit. Uraraka quickly spotted Bakugo waiting for Kirishima. His face looked less red, but was still slightly flustered. Uraraka thought that he looked frustrated with something and almost asked him what was wrong. "Are you okay, Bakugo?" Kirishima asked him. "You look a little red." "Why? It was just the mapo tofu," Bakugo said back. "It was spicier than I thought it would be." "I already told him that Uraraka can't handle spicy food," Ida said to them, but he wouldn't listen. Uraraka could tell that something else was bothering him, but didn't think much of it. She noticed Midoriya looking a little red in the face and wondered if something happened between them. "Whatever. Let's just get to class already," Bakugo said to them as he adjusted his backpack. He left with Ida and Midoriya, making it look less out of place. Uraraka noticed how he wouldn't look at Midoriya as they walked away from the cafeteria. "What's with him?" Uraraka asked them. "I have no idea," Kirishima said to her. "Maybe he's just embarrassed to sit next to them?" "No." Midoriya accidentally held hands with Bakugo, Todoroki said to them so nonchalantly, it looked like he forgot that you two switched bodies for a moment. Uraraka's eyes widened in shock and looked back at them. They were still not looking at each other, but she could tell now that Midoriya was having a hard time with this. "This is just great," Uraraka groaned with Bakugo's voice. "Hey, maybe it was just a one-time thing," Kirishima said back. "He's not used to this, especially with you two going out. That must feel really weird for him." "Yeah," Uraraka said, trailing off as she wondered about Bakugo. They all headed back to their classroom and hoped that things were going okay now that All Might and the teachers were looking for this Mei Kitsune lady. Once they got to their classroom, everyone settled down right away. As class started, Uraraka noticed Bakugo not paying attention to class all that much. He really seemed out of it, and she didn't understand why. Something about it though made her feel bad for him. Whatever was going on, she just hoped that hero training would go well. After classes, Bakugo snapped out of it when Ishido walked up to him. He had dozed off during class, which he rarely ever does. He didn't even realize that it was time for hero training. Ishido came over to him with a big smile on her face. "Are you ready for hero training, Bakugo?" Ishido asked him. "Mr. Aizawa said that we need our hero costumes for training today." Bakugo looked at Uraraka's hand and was surprised that he didn't accidentally use her quirk at all. He figured that there must have been a way to trigger it. He looked at Uraraka, who was talking to Kirishima and a couple of the guys. She looked a little nervous for some reason, but then he realized that he had to get dressed into Uraraka's hero costume. Bakugo felt his face warm up from thinking about her tight bodysuit. Ishido grabbed his wrist, but he tried to get her off of him. "Let go of me, Raccoon Eyes. There's no way in hell you're going to make me get into that hero costume of hers." Bakugo cried out as he tried to get away from her. "Yes, you have to." Mr. Aizawa said so. Ishido said to him, "Come on. I'll help you." Bakugo noticed all of the other girls coming over to help. He knew this wasn't going to go very well, so he stopped fighting them and went with them. All of the cases that had their hero costumes came out of the wall. He went right to her seat number and grabbed Uraraka's case. He felt a little embarrassed as everyone else got theirs. Even Uraraka grabbed Bakugo's case, and he noticed her face looking just as embarrassed as his. They all headed towards the changing rooms, and Bakugo got dragged towards them by the girls. They weren't very subtle about it, which made him a little uncomfortable. Once he got to the girls' changing room, he felt weird entering it. He thought he'd be used to already, but he did not. Not even a little. He went inside and put his case down. He opened it to find her bodysuit looking really hard to get into, which just made him even more red. He held it up, making his jaw drop. How the hell am I supposed to fit in this thing?" Bakugo cried out with Uraraka's voice. It's so small and tight." "Quiet down, Bakugo. The boys' changing room is right next to us." Ishido cried out, "Don't worry about it. Just do your best, and if you need help zipping up, I'd be happy to help." Bakugo looked at the rest of her hero costume and found her gauntlets, belt, and headpieces. He let out an annoyed sigh and realized that he had to get dressed in front of them. Then he witnessed Yaoyorozu taking off her shirt and felt his face turn red as he instinctively looked away. Sorry, Bakugo." Yaoyorozu cried out, "Just don't look if that makes you more comfortable." "I can't believe that Mr. Aizawa is allowing this. Hagakure said as her gloves floated in the air. Well, as long as we're here, we won't allow anything else to happen, Ashido said back. I'll make sure Mineta isn't trying to sneak a peek. Bakugo turned around and slowly took off his skirt. He took the hero costume and slowly made it up to his waist. It was so tight that he didn't understand how she even moved around in this thing. Then once he stretched it out a bit, he took off his jacket and shirt. He pulled up the hero costume, feeling really silly putting it on. He was able to take it off, but then he realized that he had to take off this bra. It was skin tight, that meant there's no reason to wear one. His face turned red and tried his best to pull up the suit as high as he could before taking it off. Ashido noticed him struggling to take it off and unattached it for him. He took it off, and she helped zipped up Uraraka's hero costume. That wasn't so hard now, was it? Ashido asked him with a smile. Are you kidding? This thing is so tight. Bakugo cried out. Yeah, but you'll get used to it, Jiru said to him. If she can handle your giant grenade gauntlets, I think you can handle her skin-tight suit. Bakugo didn't even think about that. He let it slide for now and went over to her gauntlets. He put them on with no problem whatsoever. Then the belt attached very well to his waist. The hair pieces were a bit hard to put on, but Ashido helped him with them. The last thing he needed were her boots. They were so big that he felt like they were absolutely ridiculous looking. He could surprisingly put them on pretty easily, but then realized they had heels on them. He almost tripped on them and had to hold onto the lockers. Oh my gosh! She has heels. How did I not notice this? Bakugo cried out. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll get the hang of it, Ashido said back. Come on, let's go. He didn't even notice that they all got ready pretty fast. He was surprised at how quickly they got their hero costumes on. They all exited the changing room with Bakugo stumbling a little out of it. Bakugo groaned, knowing full well that this wasn't going to be fun. In the boys' changing room, Uraraka felt a little overheated being surrounded by guys that were shirtless and getting dressed. She had to keep fanning herself, especially when Midoriya was right there. Everyone noticed and felt a little bit uncomfortable except Mineta, who was getting ready to take a peek in the peeping hole. Ida quickly noticed him and smacked him in the head. I don't know about this, guys, Uraraka said to them with a blemish across her face. Maybe I shouldn't do any hero training today. Come on, Uraraka, Kirishima said to her. We won't look. I can tell that you're uncomfortable. We all promise to be respectful. All of the guys nodded and smiled, especially Midoriya. Ida made Mineta agree with them. Uraraka couldn't help but feel a little better with them agreeing to give her some space. She took a deep breath in and out, opening Bakugo's case. Luckily, it wasn't anything skin-tight like hers. She took off her pants when no one was looking and put on the baggy pants from Bakugo's hero costume. Then she took her shirt, feeling weird to not be wearing a bra. She quickly put on his tank top, feeling a little bit better. She spotted his belt, gauntlets, gloves, shoulder pieces, a mask and a couple of hair pieces. Looking at his hero costume laid out like this made her realize that he carried a lot of stuff on him. Those gauntlets alone looked really heavy. She put her belt on, easily clipped it on with grenades all around it. She then put on his mask, feeling kind of cool wearing it. She had trouble with the hair pieces, so Kirishima ended up helping her with those. She put the shoulder pieces on with Kirishima's help as well, feeling a bit ridiculous. I can't believe that he wears all of this, Uraraka said to them. This hero costume is a bit much. Don't you think? Yes. It is, Siro said to them. Yeah. We've always kind of thought his hero costume was a bit much. We just never said anything to him, Kaminari said to her. Uraraka couldn't help but laugh at them as she put on Bakugo's gloves. Then came the fun part. She put on his gauntlets, already feeling the weight of them. She wanted to put it on last since she knew that they'd get in the way. Once she attached them, she was at least glad that Bakugo was a bit strong enough to hold them up. How the heck does he hold these things up or fight in these? Uraraka asked them. These are so heavy. I have no idea. You'd have to ask him, Kirishima said to her. It seems like Mr. Aizawa wants you two to help each other out. Uraraka looked at the gauntlets and tried to move around with them. She thought they were a little lighter when she actually started moving them around. Uraraka looked up to see Midoriya looking at her and instinctively looking away. Then she realized that they had to skip their dinner date tonight. Her eyes widened, not realizing that she had to stay as Bakugo for the rest of the day. That kind of got her down a bit, but then she realized that All Might and the other teachers were looking for Mei Kitsune. She shook it off for now, remembering to talk to him after hero training. Once everyone was done putting their hero costumes on, they all exited the boys' changing room. They ran into Bakugo with the girls, and Uraraka immediately noticed that he was struggling with the heels. She couldn't help but smile at him, trying to stay upright. "How do you even walk in these things?" Bakugo asked her with a blemish across his face. "I guess I never thought about it," Uraraka said back to him. "Once you're hero training, I'm sure it'll be a lot easier." They all headed to Gym Gamma with Bakugo tripping over a couple of pebbles. Mineta and Kaminari got a good laugh out of that while Bakugo tried to get back at them. Once they were all there, Uraraka wondered what Mr. Aizawa had planned for them all. He asked for them to all be in their hero costumes, so that meant he was planning something special. They all opened the doors to find Mr. Aizawa, All Might and Cementos here. They all spread out in Gym Gamma as Uraraka stood with Kirishima, and Bakugo standing with Ishido. Uraraka looked at Bakugo and noticed that he was struggling to wear her hero costume, which made her burst out laughing. Everyone noticed, and Uraraka stood up straight before anyone could say anything. "Alright everyone. We're here for hero training," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "Mr. Aizawa, why is All Might and Cementos here?" Ida asked him with his hand raised up. "They're here to help with training. Let me explain first before blurting out," Mr. Aizawa said to Ida. Ida pulled back a bit and let him do his thing. "I got all of you into hero costumes because of something that happened not that long ago," Mr. Aizawa said to them, eyeing both Uraraka and Bakugo. Uraraka and Bakugo stiffened up, feeling a little uncomfortable being here in Gym Gamma. They both could tell that this hero training might be a little different from their other ones. "So today's training will have to be dealing with different quirks and accessories," Mr. Aizawa said to them. "Obviously no one can switch quirks, but we do have access to all kinds of inventions and gadgets that are like your quirks." Cementos pushed in a cart full of inventions made by Hatsum and other support classmates. Some of them were actually excited to try this out, and others were a little bit nervous. "I want each and every one of you to grab one of these and try hero training with them with the person that has said quirk. Bakugo and Uraraka, you'll be training together, no questions asked," Mr. Aizawa explained to them. Uraraka and Bakugo stayed behind while the others grabbed some inventions. They watched them interact with each other for a moment as everyone figured out what inventions they got. Midoriya ended up getting a gauntlet that shot out acid, and Ishido got so excited to hero train with him. She even got a gauntlet that enhanced her strength like his. Bakugo spotted Kirishima and noticed that he got an invention that could strap onto his elbow that could shoot out tape, but wasn't as strong as Siro's. Siro was excited to see him get armor that reacted and formed similar to Kirishima's. They all got something pretty cool and were all so excited. Uraraka walked up to Bakugo and noticed that he wasn't even getting ready or anything. He just stood there looking at everyone else grabbing inventions. "So, you want a hero train?" Uraraka asked him. "We should probably get started." Bakugo looked at Uraraka's gauntlets and tried to adjust them. She could tell that they were bothering him even though he too wore gauntlets. "Yeah, I guess so," Bakugo said back. "Though I don't know how I'm gonna do that with heels like these. Seriously, how do you girls walk around in these things?" "Come on, I'll help you out," Uraraka said to him as she helped him get ready. They walked over to an area where there were no classmates around to bother them. Uraraka didn't exactly know where to start. She didn't usually do this sort of thing. "So, what do you want to start with?" Uraraka asked him. Bakugo stood up straight and tried to think of what to do first. He looked at her hands and wondered how he even floated himself. It just kind of happened, but he always noticed her being able to do it so easily. She even had these new inventions in her gauntlets that made her able to travel faster and through the air. "I guess you could explain to me how you float yourself?" "I did it by accident the other day, but I didn't know how I did it," Bakugo said to her. "Are you sure about that?" "We just got started," Uraraka said back. "Floating around at first can make you a bit dizzy and nauseous if not prepared." "Yeah, I'm sure," Bakugo said back. "I don't want to deal with these heels right now." Uraraka let out a slight giggle and got close to him without asking him. Just hold your hands together like this, Uraraka said, showing him first. Get ready though once you do it. You're going to float pretty much right away. Then when it comes to these gauntlets, I just use them to traverse through the air, kind of like Izuku when he's using Black Whip. It helps get somewhere a lot faster for me. Bakugo never realized that she based it off of Midoriya's Black Whip. Just based on this fact, she could easily figure out Midoriya's secret pretty quickly. He got the gist of it pretty easily, but he actually had to somehow pull it off. Bakugo adjusted his stance and got ready as he held his hands together. As soon as he did that, his hands glowed, causing him to float. He felt himself struggling in the air, causing others to watch him. Uraraka then realized that she didn't have her gauntlets to pull him down. Okay, Bakugo. Try to stay calm. That helps focus on your target, on where you want to go with the gauntlets, Uraraka cried out. Bakugo nodded and tried to stay still. It was almost impossible to not stumble a little. Once he got the hang of staying still, he aimed her gauntlets right at a pillar attached to the ceiling. Once he got a clear shot, he shot it out and felt a bit of a kickback. He expected that since he dealt with that all the time. It quickly wrapped around the pillar, causing Uraraka's eyes to light up. But then Bakugo suddenly felt a pull stronger than he expected and got pulled towards the pillar. He got ready to land on it, but it was much faster than he expected. He landed on it but stumbled from the heels. He didn't dare turn off his quirk and kept the cable from her gauntlets around the pillar. That was amazing, Bakugo. You got the hang out of the gauntlets faster than me, Uraraka cried out. Bakugo wanted to feel pride in that, but he kept wondering how he was going to get down now. He looked down and got worried since he didn't have his explosion quirk. He had never been afraid of heights, but her quirk definitely made him a little nervous. He let go of the pillar as it got Isigi into the gauntlet and ended up floating in the air. He swam through the air, feeling a little ridiculous doing so. He thought it was better than running around in heels. As he floated there, he realized that it wasn't that bad. It was kind of refreshing staying the air for a while instead of having to constantly blast his way through the air. He felt a little nauseous, but all he did was float himself, so he was good for now. After a while, he found a way to get down. He spotted a pillar closer to the floor and aimed at that. Once he got a clear shot, he shot it out and it didn't quite wrap around this time. It bounced off of it, so he pulled it back in and tried again. It took a couple of tries to get it just right, but soon enough he finally got down from the air. He was able to turn off Uraraka's quirk and landed with a stumble because of the heels. Bakugo, that was awesome. Uraraka cried out. You actually got down without any help from the teachers. I was about to go get Zero to get you down from the pillar. You actually thought that I'd get stuck? Bakugo asked her with Uraraka's voice. Well, yeah. That gauntlet can be tricky, Uraraka said to him. It took me a while to get used to it. Bakugo looked at it and noticed it definitely wasn't as heavy as his gauntlets. Then again, hers were still a bit big on her. He was surprised at how impressive her quirk was. If handled really well, she could actually pull off some crazy moves, especially with the gauntlets. I gotta admit, these gauntlets are pretty cool, Bakugo said back. I never noticed that you based these off of Deku's Black Whip. Uraraka felt a little warm and scratched the back of her head. She hoped that he wouldn't notice. Then again, she did mention it to him. Yeah, well, Izuku's Black Whip is pretty cool, Uraraka said to him. Besides, I could have used these back when Izuku lost control of Black Whip. That's kind of why I have these. Just in case someone needs help. Bakugo's eyes widened, not realizing the reason behind these. He remembered that day and he was shocked to find out about Black Whip along with All Might. He looked at the gauntlet some more and even noticed that her hair pieces were a bit similar to Midoriya's hoodie. With them dating now, he could see why they ended up together. No wonder you two ended up together, Bakugo said under his breath. Uraraka's eyes widened hearing him talk about them dating. She felt her cheeks warm up from his comment and tried to shake it off. What can you teach me about your quirk? Uraraka asked him, trying to move on from this awkward conversation. Bakugo thought about it for a moment and hoped that she wouldn't accidentally hurt herself doing anything with his explosions. If not done properly, she could really hurt her shoulders. He looked at her and then his gauntlets. I guess you could start with a simple blast and work your way up to traversing through the air, Bakugo said to her. Luckily our quirks are great for traversing. Although yours is probably better suited for it. Uraraka was surprised to hear him compliment on her quirk like that. She got ready for some explosions, already feeling pretty hot in his hero costume. Bakugo gave her some space, and Uraraka took a deep breath in and out as she raised up Bakugo's gauntlets. They still felt heavy, but she got them right where she needed them. Watch out for the kickback. That's where it can get you, Bakugo said to her. If not ready, it can really hurt your shoulder. Uraraka nodded, trying to stay confident. She looked back at the gauntlets and didn't exactly know how to start an explosion. She tried focusing on her hands, but nothing happened. She felt her hands heat up and create smoke, but that was it. After more focusing on her hands, she couldn't do anything more than that. She dropped the gauntlets down to her sides, feeling a little annoyed. Bakugo, how do you create an explosion? My quirk is pretty different from yours, Uraraka asked him. Bakugo looked at her and thought that she would get it right away. He never thought about it, he just kind of did it. He didn't really know what to tell her exactly. I mean, I never had a problem with that, Bakugo said to her. I just kind of do it. It comes so easily to me that I guess it would be different for you. I guess it kind of feels like lighting one of those sparklers. You have what you need to light it, but you need to focus on actually getting it started and then let it go. Uraraka never realized that he did that all the time. She tried again and raised Bakugo's gauntlets up. She focused on lighting up his sweat in the palms of her hands. She felt the heat, so she used that as well to light it. Before she knew it, a sudden explosion flew out of the palms of her hands. She felt the kick and wasn't expecting it to hurt as much as it did. It hurt a little, but not as much as she thought. She felt the heat coming off of her palms and felt sweat drip down her forehead. Oh, that was a pretty big explosion for your first try, Bakugo pointed out. That was so cool. I can't believe you do that all the time. Uraraka cried out with a smile. My arm hurts a little, but that was so worth it. Bakugo was surprised to see her so pumped up. Then again, she was kind of like this during the sports festival. Then he remembered that moment when he won and she lost. Remembering that moment made him realize that she's been through a lot and changed quite a bit in such a short amount of time. He tried to shake it off for now and went back to hero training. Uraraka blasted a few times and got better at getting used to the kickback every time. Her explosions were somehow much bigger than his for some reason. He didn't know why, but he let it slide as she kept going at it. After one more, Uraraka pulled back a bit since she getting a little tired of keeping the gauntlets up so for long. Wow. I don't know how you have these gauntlets for so long, Uraraka said to him. They're so big and heavy. Don't they get in the way a little bit? Not really. I just focus on what I'm doing, Bakugo explained. These gauntlets store my sweat inside of them too. Create this special move. I don't think you want to do that right now. It's much too strong for you. You could really hurt someone with that blast. Uraraka moped but understood where he was coming from. I think I'm ready for traversing around in the air with your quirk, Uraraka said back with Bakugo's voice. What you want to do is keep your arms behind you, Bakugo explained to her as she adjusted her arms. You're still going to feel that kickback as you traverse each time you use my quirk. You want to get some air and then let out an explosion. If you can keep doing that, then you can stay in the air for quite a while. Uraraka nodded and got ready to run. Everyone seemed to notice Uraraka getting ready to do something with Bakugo's quirk. She took a deep breath in and out and took off. She jumped up and let out an explosion, causing her to go flying. The explosion made her go up in the air, and she felt herself falling towards the ground. She quickly tried to make another one, but she got nervous and stumbled on her landing. She got ready to do it again and actually ended up staying in the air for much longer this time around. She actually got pretty high in the air at one point. She kept herself up for a good minute. Bakugo was impressed that she did pretty decent pretty quickly considering how hard traversing can be. He could tell that Uraraka's own quirk helped her a little bit. Once Bakugo noticed her getting tired and sweating a lot, he decided she should have some water. He grabbed a water bottle from the cool-down area and gave it to her. You should drink some water. It helps, Bakugo said to her. Thanks, Uraraka said as she took it from him and took a big sip. They were quiet for a while as Uraraka settled down for a moment. They watched the others' hero training with one another as they settled down for a while. Bakugo noticed how much Uraraka was sweating and wondered if they should take a break. Maybe we should sit down. You look like you need to take a break, Bakugo said to her. Uraraka wiped her forehead with her arm. It could tell that she needed to rest. Yeah, sure, Uraraka said. They headed over to the cool-down area, feeling like hero training actually went pretty well. They just hoped that they would stay that way for a while. Bakugo and Uraraka sat down together as Uraraka wiped herself off with a cooling towel. It felt so good as she wiped it all over her face and arms. Bakugo grabbed a water bottle and took a big gulp of water. They felt so refreshed as they sat down watching everyone train for a bit. Wow. I don't know how you can handle a quirk like this all the time, Uraraka said to him. It's so hot and doesn't it get hard not to make anything explode? Maybe a little. I'm just able to control it better than I used to, Bakugo explained to her. Yours is pretty weird though. I'm surprised you managed to even hold anything without accidentally making it float away. Yeah. I used to have that happen to me all the time in middle school, Uraraka said to him. Ever since I started here in UA, I've been able to control it much better. Bakugo and Uraraka sat there for a while not saying a word to each other. They felt a little awkward since the situation they were in was still a little uncomfortable to mention. Uraraka looked up at Midoriya and then remembered about the dinner date she wanted to have with him. She really wished that they could get together tonight for a date, but Bakugo would not let them doing anything like that. She understood why, but she still felt a little disappointed that she couldn't go out with him. I'm sorry that you have to miss your date with Deku. Uraraka turned around to see Bakugo looking a little upset for her. She was surprised that he even said such a thing. She looked back at Midoriya and really wanted to talk to him or do something special for him at least. Since they weren't going out together, she at least wanted to give him something special as a date-like thing. Maybe it is kind of my fault that we're in this mess, Bakugo said to her. Isn't there something you can do for him for the time being? Uraraka was surprised to see him asking such a thing. She thought about it for a minute, and then realized that she could give him the chocolates that she planned on giving to him. She made them special for him and smiled widely, remembering how excited she was to give them to her. I could give him some chocolates. I made them for him, Uraraka said back. Then she got upset, realizing that it was too weird to go there as Bakugo. She really wanted to give them to him. Bakugo noticed her face and knew what to do. He didn't want to, but he knew that if he did this it would help them get used to this for a little while. He remembered how weird it felt when Midoriya held his hand, but tried to shake it off for the time being. I could do it for you, Bakugo said to her with a blush across his face. Really, Bakugo? That would be amazing. Uraraka said with Bakugo's voice. Please let him know that I made them. Bakugo really didn't want to do this with how weird he was feeling. He felt like he owed her though. It's actually in my mini fridge in my room. Thank you so much, Bakugo, for doing this. I promise that me and Izuku won't pull anything weird if you do this for me, Uraraka said to him. Bakugo took a deep breath in and out and looked at Uraraka a little nervous and uncomfortable. He decided to leave that time at lunch out of the conversation for now. She didn't need to know about that. Sure. As long as Deku doesn't do anything weird, Bakugo said back. Uraraka smiled, making Bakugo cringe a little since it was his face doing it. After hero training, everyone went back to the changing room feeling pretty refreshed and tired. Bakugo struggled to get out of Uraraka's hero costume, and Uraraka felt so relieved to finally be out of those giant grenade gauntlets. They both were finally heading out of the school with their friends, since no one was around to have to blend in with. Uraraka walked with Midoriya and Ida, and Bakugo walked with Kirishima and Kaminari. Bakugo kept looking ahead of them and spotted Uraraka walking with Midoriya and Ida. He felt a little nervous and uncomfortable doing this for her, but he figured that this would let him off the hook for what happened. Besides, he could tell that they were actually following through with this no-dating thing. He let out a long sigh, and they finally settled down into their dormitory. Everyone got out of their school uniforms in their rooms and put on their pajamas. They had dinner and luckily no one was acting weird or uncomfortable about this situation. Uraraka sat with Kirishima, Kaminari and Jiru while Bakugo sat with Ishido and the rest of the girls. They all surprisingly were pretty okay with this considering how things played out today. Even Bakugo was surprised that Mineta wasn't trying to pull anything. He felt like he could finally relax for a bit. Once he finished eating his dinner, he got up to put it away. He turned around to see Uraraka still eating her dinner. He spotted Midoriya, who was looking at him, and he felt his cheeks warm up for a moment. He didn't know why this was happening to him, but something about it was really annoying him. It felt like his heart was racing from just Midoriya looking at him. He tried to calm down and sat back down with Ishido. "Are you okay, Bakugo?" "Sorry, I just noticed that something was bothering you," Ishido asked him. "I'm fine," Bakugo growled out as he took a gulp of his water. He looked at Midoriya, and he was looking at him again. His eyes widened in embarrassment and felt his cheeks heating up even more. Ishido noticed, and her smile grew wide, knowing full well what was going on. "Looks like Midoriya is confused again," Ishido said with a sly smile. Bakugo couldn't even look at him or Ishido and tried to shake this feeling off. "See, can we drop it please?" Bakugo asked, still feeling hot in the face. "It looks like he likes you, Bakugo," Ishido said to him with a wide smile. Bakugo felt his face brighten red and tried to get this feeling off of him by scratching and rubbing his head. He ended up accidentally floating up to the ceiling, causing everyone to notice him. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock, seeing everyone floating away from him. He felt his skirt flip up and quickly kept it from showing off his underwear. He even floated upside down, causing some of his classmates to start laughing at him. "Wow, Bakugo! You really know how to entertain us tonight," Kaminari cried out. "Shut it, Sparky! Someone help me get down!" Bakugo yelled at them. "Uraraka, what do I do?" "Calm down, Bakugo. Freaking out doesn't help," Uraraka said to him. Bakugo tried to calm down, but with Midoriya there looking at him, he just felt himself float higher. He ended up bumping into the ceiling and tried to get some leverage. He put his legs against the ceiling and pushed himself towards the floor. He was able to grab the couch and set himself down onto the floor. He quickly deactivated Uraraka's quirk and landed a bit awkwardly. His feet kind of tripped on themselves and he fell into someone's arms. He looked up to see Midoriya's face so close to him. His heart felt like it was racing out of his chest seeing him like this. Something about it felt good, and it freaked him out. His face turned red along with Midoriya once he remembered who he was helping out. They both separated from each other, and Bakugo tried to avoid everyone looking at him. Uraraka noticed something weird going on between them and for some reason felt jealous. She only figured that was the case because she was watching herself falling into Midoriya's arms. But still, she missed that feeling of him being near him. She watched Bakugo soon leave the common room and still hoped that he would give Midoriya those chocolates. Uraraka looked at Midoriya and noticed that he was trying to cool down a bit. He went into the kitchen to grab a cup of water. He gulped it down, and Uraraka walked up to him, really missing him. She wanted to at least talk to him since she's been busy with schoolwork and hero training. "Hey Izuku," Uraraka said to him with Bakugo's voice. Midoriya flinched and turned around to see Bakugo looking a little upset. He then realized that it was Uraraka. He still looked a little flustered after what just happened between him and Bakugo. "Oh, Achiko. I'm sorry about what happened just now. I'm not used to this." "Izuku, it's okay. I understand that it can be a bit weird for you," Uraraka said to him. "I don't blame you. Midoriya noticed Uraraka looking a little disappointed about something, and he knew that this was about their dinner date. "I miss you. I really wanted to go on that dinner date with you," Uraraka said with Bakugo's voice. Midoriya felt his face heat up, still feeling weird talking about this with Uraraka as Bakugo. Her voice didn't help things either. I just wish we could have done something before all of this happened," Midoriya said to her. "That definitely would have made things a little easier," Uraraka said back. "I just wish we could hold hands or something, you know?" Uraraka noticed that Midoriya felt really uncomfortable about this whole thing, and she pulled back a bit. She took a step back, feeling a little disappointed. Before she could leave, however, she felt Midoriya's hand hold onto her hand. He felt so gentle but shaky as he held it. She could tell that he was trying to hide the fact that he was holding onto Bakugo's hand. Uraraka smiled at him, and Midoriya tried not to cringe or flinch at Bakugo's face. "I'm sorry if this is weird for you, Izuku," Uraraka said to him. I just hope that Mr. Aizawa finds Kitsune soon. She's the only way we can get out of this situation. Well, he did say that if you two learn to understand one another better, then you'll switch back, Midoriya explained to her. Uraraka let out a long sigh, annoyed that she was still stuck as Bakugo for the rest of the night. I don't even know where to start with that, Uraraka said to him. I understand his quirk a bit better, but not much else. I mean, he can be a bit hot-headed, but with a quirk like his I guess I can understand why. Uraraka waited for something to happen, but nothing had changed. She was still standing there with Midoriya instead of wherever Bakugo was. Well, I guess I'll try again tomorrow, Uraraka said to him. Uraraka felt a yawn coming and felt tears forming under her eyes. Midoriya couldn't help but laugh at Uraraka since she was stuck looking like Bakugo. Maybe you should get some rest. I'm sure we'll plan something soon once this goes back to normal, Midoriya said to her. Yeah. You're right, Uraraka said back. Bakugo's quirk really exhausted me. I can barely keep my eyes open. Uraraka opened the fridge and grabbed a water bottle, remembering to hydrate. She noticed that Midoriya was still there and could tell that he was looking a little flustered for some reason. Izuku, Uraraka said to him with Bakugo's. He looked like he was trying to shake off a weird feeling and looked at her with determined eyes. Have a good night's sleep, Achiko, Midoriya said to her, clearly meant to say something else. Uraraka smiled back. You too, Izuku. Uraraka walked away and entered the elevator with some of their friends and classmates looking at them. She didn't care at this point since she was so tired. All she wanted to do was go to bed. She even almost headed up to her own room instead of Bakugo's. She let out a sigh, remembering that Bakugo might be giving Midoriya her chocolates. I hope that goes well. In Uraraka's room. It had been a while since Bakugo went up to Uraraka's room. He did his homework for a good while, but kept looking at her mini fridge. He knew not to take it to Midoriya until everyone was settling down. He still felt really weird about it but wanted to stick with his plan of helping out Uraraka. He tried to focus on his homework, but then images Midoriya kept coming up. For some reason, it made his heart flutter, which just annoyed him even more. Deku, why the hell are you doing this to me? Bakugo growled out. He ended up breaking his pencil, which just frustrated him even more. Grabbing another pencil, he went back to his homework. Once he finished it, he felt his stomach growling. For some reason, he was still pretty hungry. He opened Uraraka's mini fridge to check to see what kind of snacks she had. Then he spotted something that made his mouth water for some reason. It was mochi. For once, he actually knew that Uraraka absolutely loved mochi. He let out a chuckle and grabbed the bag. He didn't usually eat sweets, but after eating pudding with whipped cream he figured that he might like this. It was already open, so he took one out. It said that it was strawberry flavored, which kind of grossed him out a little. He ended up taking a bite out of it anyway and was surprised when his mouth watered after chewing it. Something about it tasted better than he thought. Even the texture didn't bother him as much as thought that it would. This strawberry that he usually wasn't a fan of actually tasted really good. After eating it, he actually reached in to grab another one. Weird, Bakugo mumbled to himself. After eating one more, he put the bag back in the mini fridge. He almost closed it, but then spotted the box of chocolates that Uraraka made. It looked like it was wrapped up special for Midoriya. Bakugo shook off this weird feeling he was having when looking at it and took it out. Bakugo looked at the clock and noticed that it was already almost 10 o'clock. He knew that he had to go there now if he didn't want to get caught by Mr. Aizawa. His heart felt like it was racing and still didn't understand why. This was Uraraka's boyfriend, not his. He didn't even like the thought of that, but somehow it still made his heart flutter. He shook it off and grabbed the box. Without even realizing it, he was already in the elevator heading over to Midoriya's room. He tried to calm down as he wondered how he was going to go about this. All he wanted to do was give it to him, but his heart kept fluttering every time he thought about him. It was really starting to annoy him. Before he was even ready, the elevator door opened onto Midoriya's floor. No one else was around, which helped him relax a little bit. He quietly made his way over to Midoriya's room and hesitated to knock. He wondered if he should just knock and then leave, but then Midoriya already opened the door before he could do anything about it. They both stared at each other, shocked to see one another. Then Midoriya remembered who was standing there, and his face brightened up. Kaken? What are you doing here? Midoriya asked him, a little flustered about it. Bakugo could barely find the words as he stood there with the box hidden behind him. He had never felt this way before around Midoriya, and it was really frustrating him. He didn't understand why this was happening to him. He pulled out the box of chocolates and reached them out towards him. This is for you. Uraraka wanted you to have them since. Why your date didn't exactly work out? Bakugo said, feeling really stupid. Midoriya's eyes widened, surprised to see not only Bakugo as Uraraka but also holding something for him. He took it and opened it right in front of him. His eyes lit up to see homemade chocolates made by Uraraka herself. He looked up at Bakugo with such a genuine smile that it made his heart flutter. Thank you Kaken. This means a lot to me, Midoriya said to him. Before he could even think about it, Bakugo was already running back into the elevator. Once the doors closed, he felt his heart racing and tried to calm down. He was so frustrated that was happening, but glad that it was finally over with. He doesn't have to do anything like that ever again. You better be grateful that I'm even doing this, Uraraka. In the hallways, Uraraka and Bakugo along with everyone else headed over to class. Bakugo could barely get any sleep after giving Midoriya those chocolates. They both were hoping that Mr. Aizawa had something that might help them. Maybe this Mei Kitsune was finally found because Bakugo didn't know how much longer he could take this. His heart kept fluttering whenever Midoriya looked at him. Uraraka had to keep drinking a lot of water to not be so dehydrated all the time. She almost let off an explosion when she doing her homework since she was a little hot from hero training. She could tell though that Bakugo was having it a little tougher than her. But she did still struggle to keep his quirk from exploding. They all finally got to class to see Mr. Aizawa standing there with someone that Midoriya, Uraraka and Bakugo recognized. They all locked onto her, surprised to see her so soon. Even All Might was there looking after her. Mei Kitsune had long blonde hair with similar eyes to Ishido's except they were blue instead of gold. Her skin was a bit pale which made her eyes pop out even more. Her horns were long like Ishido's, but much thicker. She wore casual clothes that were pretty comfortable and fashionable at the same time. They could tell that she was a little nervous since she had probably never been here before. Class 1A all filed in and crowded around her and their teachers. Mr. Aizawa, how did you find her? Midoriya asked him. Some of the teachers were able to track her down after a little more research, Mr. Aizawa explained. It actually wasn't that hard to find her. She lives close to the grocery store that you three went to. Uraraka and Bakugo shared a look and were so glad that they finally found her, especially Bakugo. Kitsune looked at them, and they could tell that she was so apologetic to them already. I'm so sorry for what happened. I didn't know that I had bumped into UA students, Kitsune said as she bowed to them. I just got really nervous when you two started arguing. You see, my quirk only activates when a couple of people are arguing with one another. I have no control over it. I'm so sorry. Uraraka and Bakugo felt a little uncomfortable seeing her bowing to them with everyone else here. It's okay. We don't blame you, Uraraka said with Bakugo's voice. As long as you can switch us back, then we're all good here, Bakugo said, but then Uraraka sent him a dirty glare. Oh, don't worry about that. Fortunately, that's what I can control. I can switch anyone back to normal, Kitsune said to them. That's great. Midoriya cried out, do you mind if I write that down in my notebook? Kitsune got a little nervous once he pulled out his notebook and started to write some notes down about her. Bakugo got annoyed and just really wanted to get this over with. Uraraka couldn't wait to go on a date with Midoriya at this point now. Midoriya, now's not the time, Mr. Aizawa said to him. Kitsune, would you please switch them back? Oh, of course, sir. Kitsune said a little nervously. She pulled Bakugo and Uraraka closer to her, which surprised them. They stood there as she placed her hands on their shoulder. What are your names, may I ask? Kitsune asked them. It actually helps to know before starting. I'm Achiko Uraraka. It's nice to meet you, Kitsune, Uraraka said to her with Bakugo's voice. Bakugo hesitated, but let out a sigh. Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo groaned. Uraraka sent him a dirty glare, but Kitsune didn't take it personally. Just stay calm, and I'll do the rest, Kitsune explained to them. It helps if you focus on switching back. Uraraka and Bakugo listened to Kitsune, and she closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened her eyes, and they were glowing blue along with her horns. A blue electric current flowed around her hands and ran up to her horns. Everyone was in awe as the blue electrical current as it bounced against her horns. Then Uraraka and Bakugo noticed something was bothering Kitsune. Before they could react, the blue electrical current shot out at both of them. They both collapsed onto their knees, feeling a bit winded. Everyone ran up to their friends, hoping that they were back to normal. Midoriya ran up to Uraraka, and Kirishima helped Bakugo up. "Are you okay, man?" Kirishima asked him. That looked like it hurt. "Yeah, that was a bit strong." Bakugo and Uraraka looked at each other and noticed that something wasn't right. They were still looking at their own faces, shocked but still their own. They stood there, confused and speechless. Bakugo was the first to say something and tried to get Midoriya away from him. "What the hell just happened?" "Nothing's changed." Bakugo yelled at Mr. Aizawa and Kitsune. "Yeah. I thought you said that we would be back to normal," Uraraka said with Bakugo's voice. Class 1A was shocked to see them acting like this. They too were shocked to find out that it didn't work. Kitsune was a little nervous, but knew that it should have worked. "Teach, that doesn't make any sense. This always works unless..." Kitsune trailed off and looked at the both of them. "Unless what? Just spit it out already." Bakugo yelled at her. "Bakugo, calm down. You don't want to go flying across the room again, do you?" Uraraka said to him. "Ms. Kitsune, please explain what's happening," All Might said to her. "Well, since you've been stuck like this for a while, things could have happened while you two were going about your day," Kitsune tried to explain. "Sometimes someone might have feelings for someone else and those feelings are messing with someone else's that isn't actually theirs to begin with. It can get a bit complicated if not switched right away." Bakugo for some reason knew exactly what she meant and felt himself stiffen up. "Wait, I'm confused," Kaminari said to them as he scratched his head. "Of course you are," Jiru commented. "So basically, either Bakugo or Uraraka are developing feelings for someone even though those feelings don't belong to them. That's what's stopping them from switching back." Yaoyorozu tried to explain it better. "Is that what you're saying?" "Yes. That's exactly what it is," Kitsune said a little too excitedly. Everyone turned to Midoriya, and he got really embarrassed and uncomfortable about something. Yaoyorozu looked at Bakugo and Uraraka, but then back at Bakugo. He could feel her staring him down and knew that she was getting close to figuring it out. He felt his cheeks warming up when he glanced over at Midoriya. Yaoyorozu's eyes lit up and realized what was going on. It's Bakugo. Whether or not he's realized it, he's developed feelings for Midoriya, Yaoyorozu said to them, but it's not exactly his fault. He's stuck in Uraraka's body after all. Everyone's jaws dropped, and Uraraka's eyes widened in shock. Kaminari, Shiro and Mineta laughed so hard, which caused Bakugo's face to turn bright red. "Oh my gosh! This is too good!" Kaminari cried out as he laughed so hard. Midoriya's in the middle of a weird love triangle. Mineta cried out as he pointed at the three of them. All three of them were bright red, and Bakugo avoided eye contact with the both of them. He felt his hands clenching to try to create an explosion, but nothing came up. "Shut the hell up. I can't help it." Bakugo yelled out, "This is what I get for going grocery shopping with these two. I shouldn't have even gone with them in the first place." "Wait a minute. You already said that it was your fault." Uraraka agreed back. "Yeah, but now your stupid feelings are getting in the way of, well, everything. Your feelings for Deku here keep interrupting me. I can't even do my homework without him popping up in my head." Bakugo cried out, "I thought we were finally getting along. After hero training, I actually thought that you were a decent guy." "I guess I was wrong," Uraraka said back. "You're still selfish and only think about yourself." "Are you kidding me? I was the one who gave Deku those DMN chocolates for you. I could have just brushed it off, but I didn't because I actually felt bad for what happened." Bakugo agreed back. It was quiet in Class 1A's classroom for a while. Unfortunately, the argument didn't seem to trigger Kitsune's quirk to activate. Everyone figured it was because of the same situation. Uraraka avoided eye contact with Bakugo, feeling a little uncomfortable standing there with everyone around her. She looked at Midoriya and noticed that he wasn't looking away from her like he usually did. He looked at her like she was Bakugo. Before he could realize it, Uraraka ran out of the classroom with some of her classmates calling out to her. Even Midoriya tried to stop her from leaving. "Kitsune, I apologize for my students' behavior," Mr. Aizawa said with a stern glare at all of them, but mostly Bakugo. "It's okay, sir. Believe it or not, I've dealt with this bunch of times before," Kitsune said, surprisingly less nervous. "If you don't mind, I could talk to Uraraka alone. I might be able to help her." Mr. Aizawa nodded in agreement, but had All Might escort her anywhere in the school. Kitsune noticed Midoriya, the other guy, looking like he wanted to join in with them. He backed out, noticing Mr. Aizawa glaring at him and the others. She smiled, knowing full well that he was the one that Uraraka liked him. They didn't know where she went, but decided to start with the restrooms nearby. As they got closer to them, they could hear Bakugo's voice crying in the girls' restroom. Uraraka had ran into the girls' restroom without thinking about it. All Might looked at Kitsune and nodded at her. He decided to stay right outside of the restroom, waiting for them to come out. Kitsune went inside and could see Uraraka crying over the sink, her face dripping from water being splashed over her face. "Uraraka?" Kitsune said very softly. Uraraka stopped crying by the sink and whipped around to see Kitsune standing there. She had tears running down her face, but she tried to wipe them off right away. "Kitsune, I didn't expect you to follow me," Uraraka said with shocked eyes. "I'm sorry for sneaking up on you like that, but I just thought you might need someone to talk to," Kitsune said to her. "I may not look it, but I'm a pretty good listener." Uraraka didn't even know this lady very well, and she was willing to help her out. She thought that this sort of thing wasn't that big of a deal, but Kitsune has probably dealt with this before. Kitsune noticed that she was still trying to wipe away her tears and whipped out a handkerchief. "It looks like you need it," Kitsune said to her with a subtle smile. Uraraka took it from her and wiped the rest of her tears away with it. She even felt a little hot from what had just happened and tried to cool down a bit. The cold water kind of helped a little bit. For a moment, it was pretty quiet between the two of them. Kitsune was being pretty patient with Uraraka considering what just happened. Uraraka still felt like such an idiot for thinking that Bakugo might be more than just selfish. I can't believe this is happening to me," Uraraka said to her. Things were going so well between me and Izuku. We're finally dating and enjoying our time together. And then Bakugo has to come in and ruin it all. I can't even believe I actually thought he's a good person. All he ever does is yell at Izuku, insult everyone, and thinks he's better than everyone else here. I miss Izuku so much." Kitsune somehow understood even if she didn't know these kids very well. She knew right away that the guy that tried to help him was the one she was talking about. She smiled, realizing that they were closer than she thought. "You really like this guy, huh?" Kitsune said to her as she took a step closer. "I love him," Uraraka said to her. "We may have been going out for only a couple of weeks, but I've known him for almost a year. Ever since I got into this school, I've always noticed him and cheered him on. He's the one that inspired me to become a better hero. I really miss him being near him." "Do Bakugo and your boyfriend not get along?" Kitsune asked her. Uraraka couldn't help but chuckle at that. They aren't exactly close friends, but they've known each other for a lot longer. "It's complicated," Uraraka said to her. "He's not exactly thrilled about us going out while we're stuck like this, so he doesn't want us dating until things go back to normal." "I understand now. That's why you miss Izuku," Kitsune said back. "I'm sure once things cool down between the three of you, you can work out some sort of agreement." "Like that would ever happen," Uraraka said to her. "Bakugo would never let us date being stuck like this. Maybe I can talk to him. I'm sure he's just a little bit frustrated with this new development," Kitsune explained to her. "It's gotta be a little weird for him being stuck with feelings that he doesn't want." Uraraka thought about it for a moment and actually felt bad for him. If she were going through what he was right now, she'd probably be frustrated as well. She let out a long sigh, not sure what else to do. "I don't blame you for any of this, just so you know," Uraraka said to her. Unlike Bakugo, I don't go around blaming others. I appreciate it, Kitsune said back with a smile. There really isn't anything else that you can do? There's gotta be a way to reverse this, Uraraka asked her a little worried. It can still be reversed, but it might be a lot harder than just focusing on switching back with Bakugo's circumstances, Kitsune explained. The easiest way out of this at this point is to understand each other better. Uraraka let out a sigh, having a feeling that was bound to come up sooner or later. Kitsune felt bad for her and knew what to do in that moment. I'm not leaving until we figure this out, Kitsune said to her with determined look on her face. You two are UA students. I want to help you in any way I can. Uraraka was surprised to see this lady that she knew nothing about wanting to help her out. Something about it felt kind of relaxing. Even her eyes made her feel much more confident that she could actually help her. Thank you, Kitsune, Uraraka said to her. I really appreciate you helping me and Bakugo out. You better talk to Bakugo now before he floats everything in the classroom. Kitsune couldn't help but let out a giggle, wondering what exactly their quirks were. Yeah. All Might is right outside the restroom. I'm going to go on ahead and talk to Bakugo for you, Kitsune said to her. Thank you again, Uraraka said to her. Just be cautious around him. He can be a bit loud. Thanks for warning, Kitsune said back and headed out of the restroom. Uraraka took a deep breath in and out, feeling a little better already. Something about talking to Kitsune felt so much better than she thought it would. She worried about Midoriya, but right now all she wanted to do was let Kitsune handle things with Bakugo for now. Once she could calm down, she exited the restroom and headed back to the classroom with All Might. Uraraka noticed that she still had the handkerchief in her hand. She smiled, knowing full well that Kitsune might be here longer than she initially thought.